Let me get a sip of coffee before it gets cold because I always forget to do this when I do these live streams. Up! New York Giant fans. Going to have a guest on tonight, too. He's just running a little bit late. I've met him at a couple of Giants games. He's got a podcast. Really looking forward to talking to him, the Football Grump. He's friends with Bobby and Justin, very knowledgeable Giants fan, so looking forward to that. Also, probably take some video callers as the show gets going, maybe hour and a half in. But obviously being, guys, that to me, this is the biggest game we've had in a very long time, I figured it would be appropriate to, go live the night before. I've been busy with the new job and everything else, but this game was just way too big not to go live the night before and talk about it. I've been thinking about this game for about 10 days, ever since we got our asses kicked against Dallas on Thanksgiving. I knew when I looked ahead on the schedule and I saw that Washington was going to be an opponent, I knew that this was going to be a playoff-like game. And after we lost to Washington, and obviously the loss to Detroit just made this game that much more important. And when you really look ahead to the schedule, if you're being real with yourself, we got to win this game. And, we're lucky we're getting some reinforcements, but we're playing a good Washington team. This Washington team has played very well. They've won 6 out of 7. Their defense, I think, has held their opponents to under 20 points. I think I read like each of the last 8 games. So they have a very good defense coming in. They have a good defensive line. They ran the ball very effectively. Recently, Brian Robinson had over 100 yards. Obviously, they got weapons in the passing game, but it is what it is. We got to find a way to win this game, and we've beaten better teams this year than the Washington Commanders. I don't care what their team name is this year. I don't care if they won 6 out of 7. We've beaten better teams than them. We're healthier. I think we stand a good chance to win this game. We'll see. Giants come in as a 2-point dog. We'll talk to you guys throughout the stream, but I'm really amped up for this game. And, not just for this year, but for the future. I think a lot of the players' futures depend on this game. Potentially could depend on this game. Obviously, I'm talking about Saquon Barkley. I'm talking about Daniel Jones. I'm talking about pending free agents, because if the Giants lose and this season goes off the rails, things can change in terms of how they feel about certain players, right? Shane said it at the deadline. He's evaluating these players over the rest of the year. This is a game you got to show up. Can't have a 4th and 1 this week where you miss on the throw and where Saquon Barkley drops the pass. This week they got to connect. You got to come through in the big spots this week. We need this win. You need this win. Giants fans need this win. And hopefully we get it. I can't wait. Adam, man, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. He says, would you be happy if OBJ comes home? Let me say hello to everybody in the chat real quick. Cribs, I forgot to say that. I'm going to answer your question about OBJ. Cribs and Ribs in the chat. Dire Giants fan in the chat. And yes, Neil is back. Neil is playing. That is official. He is playing. Dire Giants fan. Emil Craig in the chat. Nick in the chat. Amazing guy in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. What's going on, Timothy? What's going on, Coulter? Afghanistan, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in the stream. What's going on, John? What's going on, Memo? What's going on, Flex Lopez? Thanks for popping in, man. Sean G in the chat. Donovan in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. Albin, what's up, Albin, man? How you doing, buddy? Meat in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday night. Mets in the chat. He's a lunatic. Now, to answer the OBJ question. I mean, listen, realistically speaking, and then I got a couple of members' chats I think I saw I got to answer. Let me just make sure. I'm going to get to Brandon in a second. He dropped the member chat as well. But as far as the Odell Beckham thing goes, I mean, Beckham visited us. He came to us for 2 days. He was in Buffalo today, and I saw somebody say on Twitter that they said, wow, he only spent 1 day at Buffalo, to which I responded, they're lucky he got a day out of Buffalo. What the hell could you do in Buffalo for a full day? So he went to Buffalo for a day today. I think he's going to Dallas on Monday, from what I read. Would I? Sure. I mean, listen, as long as the contract is reasonable, absolutely. But I think that we have to realize that there's a certain threshold that the New York Giants probably shouldn't breach when it comes to Odell Beckham. I mean, the guy's coming off 2 ACL tears. He's 9 months removed from the surgery. And I think Joe Shane's smart enough to realize that. He's not going to open up the bank account. He's not going to give this guy, a ridiculous commitment. He's going to realize that he has an injury risk. And in the end, if he's willing to come here for a fair contract, it's not a whole lot of money because he wants to play for the New York Giants and reestablish his career in the NFL, I'm all for it. I don't think it's going to happen. I've said that all along. I don't think it's going to happen. I know you're reading rumors on Twitter that people are saying they think it could happen. And if it does, I'll say I was wrong and I'll be excited. I know the fan base will be really excited about it. But the fact that he didn't work out He didn't work out, guys. He didn't even work out for the New York Giants. So I don't even know if he's going to play this year. Like, how the hell could you sign a guy? And maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I read. How the hell could you sign a guy if he didn't work out? How are you going to sign him? You can't sign him coming off an ACL surgery like that. So maybe he'll have a workout in a couple of weeks. I don't know. But it may just be meetings meant more so for next year. I don't know. Who knows? We'll see how it all plays out. But he's got the Dallas meeting on Monday, and I guess we'll take it from there. Yeah, I mean, I think he said it went well, or at least people said that on Twitter that he said that. I think license plate guy said that, but who knows what that means? If you ask me right now, I think he's going to end up with the Dallas Cowboys. But right now, I really don't care about Odell Beckham because right now, Odell Beckham's not a New York Giant. And right now, the New York Giants are playing their biggest game since 2016. You could argue it's our biggest game since our last Super Bowl, and you factor everything else in that I talked about at the opening. So Odell Beckham is the furthest thing on my mind, and he should be the furthest thing on the New York Giants' mind. Washington is what should be on the New York Giants' mind. That's what matters right now. We have to take care of business. If Odell Beckham comes in a couple weeks, sure, okay. I'm not worried about it. I'm not even thinking about it. But we'll see. But what's going on, man? What's going on? Let me get to the member chat real quick. Brandon Weezus, man, thank you so much for being a member for 24 months. Says, hey, Chris, my therapist just gave me a puppy, and he's a Great Dane mix. My daughter named him Tiny. Even he is rocking a G-Men jersey tonight. Let's go, man. Your therapist gave you a puppy. Wow. That should be really good therapy. That should be good therapy. I wish I could. If I could get a puppy by going to a therapist, I'd voluntarily go to a therapist. Sign me up, man, if I get a puppy out of it. And who they played, man. Thank you so much for being a member, man, for 32 months, man. I appreciate it. And I think I had a couple more members chats. Thank you to everybody for being here. Kylie says, love this time of year. College playoff madness. I've been watching a ton of college football this year. I watched a bunch of the games last night. Obviously, I watched Caleb Williams. He was hurt. He gutted it out. He gave it everything that he had, but he was hurt. That game obviously got out of hand in the second half. I watched the TCU game today. That was a fantastic game. And I really love their wide receiver, as does everybody. You're hearing that obviously he's going to go in the top 10 right now in all these mock drafts, but he looked fantastic. 6'4". Reminds me a lot of what we were hoping we would get from Golladay, but he's quicker. And obviously has a lot more potential, but he looks great. But yeah, I watched a bunch of college. I watched the Alabama game, the Georgia game, I should say, I think it was, before I went live. They were up by about 20 points. So yeah, college football is always exciting down the stretch. It looks like the college playoffs are going to be TCU, I think, is still going to make it. I think they're going to be the 4. Ohio State will probably be the 3. They'll play Michigan. You get a rematch there. And then obviously Georgia will be the 1. So Georgia kind of gets a bye. They'll destroy TCU and they'll play the winner of the Big Ten. Eric, man, thank you so much for being a member. He says, let's go Giants. Huge game tomorrow. I am ready for tomorrow and nervous for this game. You should be nervous, but at the same time, you should be excited. It's a meaningful football game late in the season. We haven't had one of those in a really long time. It is a playoff game. So I'm nervous too. I'm nervous for the players. I'm nervous for the team. I'm nervous for the fans. I'm nervous to see what Twitter looks like if the New York Giants ever lose, because it's going to be a death sentence. But I'm excited, man, because the game means so much, and I believe in this team. I think they could win this game. I believe in this coach with 4 extra days to prepare. I believe in these players. I believe in the players that we're getting back. I really, truly believe the New York Giants can win this football game if they come with their A game tomorrow, and I think they're gonna. I think we're gonna win tomorrow. I really do. Adam, man, thank you very much, man. Did you see the report that Renan about OBJ? I did not. Well, I think I did. Let me just look it up real quick. I think I did. If it was earlier today, if it was a more recent report, I didn't. I saw him tweet about OBJ earlier today about. Let me see. What did he say? He said, okay, here it is. 2 things I think about the OBJ situation from talking to people and observing. Odell wants to be a Giant, which I already know. That doesn't mean he's going to be a Giant, but I think he would want to be a Giant if everything made sense. The lure of coming to New York, making it a home for his family, and winning in this city is enticing. I agree. I already knew that, or at least I already thought that. There's unfinished business. It's a matter of if the Giants want to pay him the money he wants. That's always been the question for me. The OBJ deal is more about next year than this year. Even Saquon Barkley has said it repeatedly. People need to be realistic. He's coming back from serious knee injury, no training camp, no practice yet. It's already December. Will take time to get in football shape. Anyone who thinks Odell Beckham is rushing back from a second torn ACL should do a prove-it deal for the final few games of the season. Isn't thinking logically. He's better off waiting until next season. So there you go. That's an opinion piece there at the end of it. That's Jordan Renan's opinion about that he should wait until next season. But yeah, I mean, when you look at how thin the wide receiver market is next year, it makes sense why he would sit out. It's just kind of weird that he'd be visiting these teams at this point in the season with 6 or 7 weeks to go. Why not just continue to focus on your rehabilitation and not serve as a distraction to any of these teams trying to compete for the playoffs if you don't have any intentions to play this year? But maybe he will. I have no idea. But I always thought Odell wanted to be a Giant. It makes sense. New York, obviously he loved playing here from all accounts for the most part until things got ugly at the end. Obviously a big city. He's a big personality. It makes sense. We need a wide receiver. It would be a great PR move for both the Giants and Beckham if it were to work out. But we don't have the cap space, and I don't know if we're in the right frame right now to be the type of team to bring a player like that in, unless the contract makes sense. J-Man, thank you very much, man. Opinion on Jalen Hyatt looks great to me. I'm a big fan of Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. The only thing with anybody in that Tennessee offense, the only thing with and let me just make sure my guest is, he might have responded. Okay, he's not. He's running a little bit late. He'll be here, though. The only thing when judging anybody, and he's here now, I'm going to pull him in a second, but the only thing about judging anybody from within that Tennessee offense, whether it be Hyatt, whether it be Hooker, it's an up-tempo style offense. And I like Hyatt, by the way. I've watched a ton of Tennessee games. I think he's going to be really good. But don't analyze that team based off the statistics, because they basically run a Chip Kelly offense. They snap the ball every 5 seconds. But I'm a big fan of Hyatt. I think Hyatt's going to be a first-round wide receiver. I think he fit our offense very well. Yeah, and I think he's certainly a target. There's the good news for the Giants, and I've heard people say that this year's draft class for the wide receiver core is not very good. I disagree. I think I'm not saying there's a Jamar Chase in this class, but there's a lot of very good wide receivers, and he's one of them. Raphael, man, thank you very much, man. Caleb freaking Williams. Caleb Williams is a beast. Best quarterback prospect I've seen in years. I think he's going to be tremendous when he's in the NFL in a couple of years. Adam says, whatever happened to Neo? Neo's here. Neo's upstairs. She sleeps. She's much more calm than she used to be. But let's bring the football grump in. What's going on, man?
Hey, dude. What's going on?
Good to talk to you, man. I've got to meet you a couple times in person. I meant to go on your podcast. Something came up with my new job at the time, and I saw you on Twitter. I know I've listened to your podcast before. Very smart Giant fan, very nice guy. And I was excited. I was excited to have you on, talk about the Giants. I know you got to be as amped up as I am for this game. But what's going on, man? Thanks so much for popping in, buddy.
Not much. I apologize in advance. I literally just ran in the door, and so my cat's really excited to see me. So I've already twice moved him out of my way. He's not getting the hint. But this is. I had like a long running joke with people that every time that there was like it's just like, this is the biggest snap of the year, But is this not the biggest game of the year? I mean, dropping this game against the Commanders, that might just torpedo the whole season.
I'm going to do it even further, and maybe I'm being over dramatic, and maybe you're going to disagree with me. I have said on my channel now the whole week, this isn't just the biggest game of the year. This is the biggest game since 2016. And I'm going to throw another caveat into this. You can make an argument, not on paper, but when you factor everything in, which I'm going to explain, this is the biggest game since our last Super Bowl, because it's not just about this season. This game, your quarterback is in the balance. Your running back is in the balance. Your two franchise pieces are in the balance. This game, if we lose it, because I think you agree with me, if we lose this game, when you look at the schedule, which Washington game's easier to win? The game this week when we have 4 extra days to prepare and we're at home, or the game in two weeks when they have a bye and they have 2 weeks to prepare for? So if we lose the game, you play the Eagles, you're probably going to lose that if we're being honest. You drop to 7-6, that's 4 straight losses. Then you play Washington a team that just beat you before they were rested. So to me, this is definitely the biggest game of this year. You can make an argument it's the biggest game since our last Super Bowl.
I think you could make that argument. I think that's certainly fair. I think 2016 is I would probably argue 2016 only because that was such a strong record. I had made the argument that team, especially on offense, was not nearly as good as they seemed. We were always just kind of one Beckham play from winning or losing a game, whether or not he was able to make that play. But when you factor in Eli Manning as being part of this franchise and such a cornerstone of this franchise, the 2016 season was really his last legitimate shot to move this team forward. So I'll definitely agree with you there. And you're absolutely right about this game over in 2 weeks when we play Washington. It's not just that they have a bye week and they can prepare. They can spend this whole week this week preparing for the Giants And then when they see on film all of the things that they screwed up when we do beat them, they do have 2 weeks to do nothing but prepare on only the little things that didn't work. They already know the things that did work. In the meantime, we have to shift gears and worry about a completely differently structured team in Philadelphia for that interim break. And then we play them on Saturday, likely.
Yeah,
So
because
it's a quick
good
turnaround.
chance they'll flex it. Good chance they'll flex it. So, yeah, listen. They lose this game, we're gonna have to pull off a game we shouldn't to remain in this season. And I think the easiest path to the playoffs, and I'm not saying I expect it because it's going to be hard, is sweeping Washington. Because if you sweep Washington, you're in. I've done the math. It's going to be damn near impossible for us not to make the playoffs if we sweep Washington, which means we go 9-8 and make the playoffs. If we do not sweep Washington, even if we split with them, you got to go 2-2 over those last 4 games, 2 of which are against the Philadelphia Eagles and 1 of which is against the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm not one that's going to bank on Philadelphia sitting their starters the last week. So for me, you want to make the playoffs, you beat Washington. And obviously it starts with this game. They're probably going to have to beat them again if we're being real. But before we even think about that game, we've got to win tomorrow.
Well, my big worry, and I said this on our last show, is Detroit, because I do see a scenario like just beating Washington twice. Let's just say we drop every other game.
Right.
There is a scenario in which
they got to go 5-1. They got to go 5-1.
I mean, if we can't tie with either Seattle or Detroit for the last seed,
right?
We'll lose.
Well, the way I look at it is, if we sweep Washington, they're not passing us because they'd have to go 3-0 against They're playing, I think, the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Browns. I don't think they're going 3-0.
Yeah, I guess not.
I mean, they could, but it's not likely.
And do we think that the Browns are going to be a little bit better with Watson playing?
You got to think so, right?
I mean, I don't know. It's so late in the year now for that team. I just don't know if it's going to be. They'll certainly be tougher to beat, but like, are they going to just win out the rest of the year? Like, what's that going to be?
But I don't think Washington's going 3-0 in those 3 games.
I don't think so either.
If we were to sweep them, the Lions have the Niners. I mean, I'm sorry, the Lions. Yeah, the Lions I think have the Niners. I want to say they have the Jets. And they had one other.
The Lions have, I'm sorry, I do have it all written down. The Lions have the Jags, Vikings, Jets, Panthers, Bears, Packers.
Okay. So
which really, Vikings and Jets are the only real threats in there.
Yeah. Packers, maybe. They could.
Yeah, but it's the last game of the season. Right. They might be just.
Jordan Love's probably playing at that point. And well, you're right. It's possible they could go 5-1. It's possible. But our best chance to make the playoffs is to win these 2 games against Washington. And then hopefully you continue to win. But I think that definitely gives us our best shot to make the playoffs. And I would give us at least a 70-75% chance to make it if we were to sweep Washington.
Is there a reason why you think Philly might not rest their starters?
It's possible if they have the number 1 seed locked up, because at that point you have nothing to play for other than to beat the New York Giants and to have your team prepared. But if I'm an Eagles fan, I want them to play, and it has nothing to do with the New York Giants, because I've seen so many teams since I've been watching the sport that have let up on that last game. They haven't played the starters, and then they came out. We experienced it as Giants fans when we played the Packers in 2011. The Green Bay Packers did not play their starters the last week of the regular season, and that first quarter they looked completely. They weren't prepared. They weren't ready. And I've seen it several other times where teams had their bye. They sat the starters the last week. Now, if I'm an Eagles fan, I may not want them to play the starters the full game, but I certainly want them to play at least the first half.
I do agree with you. And I think that Nick Sirianni is probably an interesting young coach that might come to it with the fresh idea of, I don't like sitting guys or something like that to keep momentum going into the playoffs, et cetera. I mean, they're probably going to get a bye anyway. So yeah, I guess the idea of sitting your starters for 2 weeks instead of 1 week or whatever, but so much runs through Jalen Hurts being available for the playoffs, right? Like, I mean, what is this Eagles team without him? So I have to think at least Hurts has to sit.
They might sit Hurts. They might sit Hurts, and they got a good backup. So they might sit Hurts, but I'm not going to bank on it.
No, I'm not going to bank on it. First of all, this Giants team, this has been a really fun year. This has been far beyond my expectations to rebuild and win in this way while also getting rid of pieces. But nothing could be taken for granted with this team. Like, the Indianapolis Colts game that's coming up is the closest thing we have to a gimme, and it's not a gimme.
That's not a gimme.
Yeah.
That's not a gimme. We thought, some Giants fans, no, I didn't think any game was a gimme, but I was pretty confident going to the Detroit game, and we played horrible. So,
oh, dude, that was brutal.
yeah, that was our worst game of the year, I think. We couldn't run the ball against it. That was what surprised me, because a lot of Giants fans after the game told me, "See, Chris, I told you they had a good offense." I knew they had a pretty good offense. I thought we'd be able to run all over them, and we'd be able to keep their offense off the field. They had the 31st ranked run defense in football going into the game, which turns me to Saquon Barkley this week. Saquon Barkley, you've heard a lot of chatter on Twitter. You've heard a lot of Giants fans saying that they think Saquon might be, falling off here a little bit because he had the big workload, the 35 carries, have the New York Giants run him into the ground. This is a huge game for Saquon Barkley because obviously now he's had two weeks in a row. I personally think it was because of short rest. He played 2 games in 4 days off a 35 carry performance. I do think he's going to show up tomorrow, not to mention he's getting reinforcements with Neal and Bellinger, which is a huge, huge addition, in my opinion. When you look, Patricia Traynor showed me the stat. I was blown away. When you look at Daniel Bellinger's stats, the New York Giants as a team in terms of rushing yards average 111 yards when he doesn't play, and I think it's like 170 yards when he does. It's like a 60-yard discrepancy when he plays and when he doesn't play. And that's over like a 4-game sample size. That's not like minor. That's like almost half the season. So
yeah, I made the same point on my show, how big it is getting both him and Neal back, by the way.
It's huge.
It's massive, but I think that's kind of where you can circle back to the Kadarius Toney trade and wonder if that was smart or not. I mean,
he's already hurt, man. He's already hurt.
I understand that. I guess it's just the idea, right? Like you've made us one-dimensional during that 3-game stretch. I mean, that really, I'm not saying it was the right move or the wrong move, but I think it's pretty fair to say that added in with the injuries to Bellinger, Kenny Golladay just being
and Wan'Dale got hurt too, man.
Wan'Dale got hurt. All of that just kind of continued to put extra work on Saquon Barkley, because I'm wondering this week if we'll see a little bit more of Daniel Jones running the ball to kind of split that workload. You have the extra tight end help now, a legitimate tight end.
Was that your dog?
That was my cat. I have no idea what just happened. I'll deal with that later. Sorry about that.
Loud. Sounds like a dog.
I have no idea what just happened. It's in the other room. Doesn't matter. But so the Marcus Mariota with the Falcons, which by the way, a Kyle Pitts less Falcons just barely lost to this team, like right down inside the 5-yard line. But Marcus Mariota ran all over them. Yeah. And I know John Keim for ESPN Washington Commanders thinks that there's like some massive difference between the way Daniel Jones runs and Marcus Mariota runs. In my opinion, if there's a difference in the way they run, Daniel Jones runs better.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that there is like an unleashing of previously used concepts here. Split that workload with Barkley, utilize the bookend stuff that you have with Andrew Thomas, Evan Neal, and Daniel Bellinger. Because Barkley is not a Derrick Henry type, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely not.
And when you look at that 35 carry game against Houston, a lot of it seemed to be between the tackles, just running headfirst into stuff, which is, I don't know. I might be speaking out of my ass here and without like the actual percentages of what was off tackle and what was between the tackles. But I don't know how effective it is to use Barkley in that manner between the tackles on a more consistent basis than outside.
Yeah,
or in the receiving game.
I agree with you. I'd like to see them use Barkley more in the receiving game. It's what I expected going into the year. But I think a lot of the, I think a big reason, and I've said this now for a few weeks, I think a major reason why Saquon Barkley hasn't been used in the way that a lot of us envision going into the year is because we can't block. And I think Dable and realizes that. He knows our interior is ass. And he says, I need Barkley to stay in to protect the quarterback. And I think that has a lot to do with why they haven't utilized him more in the passing game than we thought they were going to. That's just my hypothesis. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but that's what I feel. And it's also why our offense is so limited in the passing game because, people say, oh, my God, look, Daniel Jones, look, he's got a pocket. We're blocking pretty well. Look, the line's great. The line's not great. We're running 12 personnel. We got 2 tight ends out there. When you have 2 tight ends out there and you have your running back staying into block, you got like 1 wide receiver running a route.
Exactly.
So it limits the offense.
And the wide receivers running the routes is not the cream of this offense.
Right. So I want to have an offense, Grump, where we could have 5 blockers. The running back could go out, run a route. We could have 4 wide set. When was the last time you saw a 4 wide set? 5 wide set. We don't even have 4 wide receivers on the roster half the time, but we can't run a spread offense because we can't block.
Yeah, the interior is really a big trouble. The good thing is that we're building in the way that I think is the smartest way to do it, right? You have your left tackle of the future. We're all very happy with Andrew Thomas. We think that we have something there with Evan Neal. To me, when you get that center to kind of give you the 3 points right there, you can kind of fudge your way with the guards. You can get yourself a veteran guard that's been around and maybe is in the back half of his career. You can sign that guy to come in there. You can get yourself a Josh Azudu to be a backup, even though he's pretty raw. I mean, that kind of thing works when you have those 3 pillars holding the line together, and you can get yourself into a situation where you have just 5 blockers in and you have the running back just kind of checking, okay, nobody blitzing, I'm going to go out on my route. It's amazing what they've been able to accomplish so limited. You're right. Like, the concepts have been drawn up to protect the quarterback and just kind of chip away or put skill players in one-on-one situations. Like Darius Slayton's touchdown, I want to say, was that against Detroit or Houston, where it was like a whole fall away play?
Houston. I think it was Houston. Yeah.
Well, you just get a situation where you have a skill player break 1 tackle.
Yeah. He's had 2 really nice touchdowns. One was at Houston, the game I was at against Houston, and then he had the other one. I can't remember who it was against, where he caught the touchdown where he kind of bobbled it at first, and he was able to hold it in down the right sideline. He's had a couple of big plays this year, Slayton.
Is that the Dallas one where he landed at the 1?
No. I'm talking about one where he scored a touchdown.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember who it was against. It was earlier in the year. It was maybe 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. But it was Jacksonville. There you go. It was Jacksonville. It was Jacksonville. Yeah. But by the way, Slayton's been great this year, hasn't he?
Does it feel to you that some guys from the old regime were given an uphill battle? Like, to me, it feels like Darius Slayton did nothing wrong, and he only really got the reps when there was nobody else, and only then did the coaches really just let him have it.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with that. I also think that he still has drop problems. But,
of course.
But as Giants fans, we don't really realize it. Like, because we're so limited at the wide receiver position. I don't know if you saw the stat on Twitter. I posted it yesterday, the amount of drops that we've had as a wide receiver core. The Giants have had 20 drops this year as a team. 20 drops on only 316 passing attempts. We're dropping the ball every 16 passing attempts. To put that in context, Marcus Mariota, they dropped the ball once every 35 pass attempts. Geno Smith, 1 out of every 42 pass attempts. And you look at Geno Smith's completion percentage. If Jones has the same drop rate, he's throwing 72% too. So our wide receivers are doing him no favors, and Slayton's a part of that. He's had 5 drops on only 45 targets. Kenny Golladay, you want to hear the most mind-numbing stat? Oof. Kenny Golladay has had 10 targets this year. 10. He has 4 catches, and he has 4 drops.
Well, I mean,
40% of the balls thrown his way, he has dropped. And the definition of a drop is when both your hands touch the ball, and it's nobody's fault but yourself. Like, it's an obvious catchable ball. He's dropped 4 out of the 10 balls that have been thrown his way.
That's probably the most absurd thing. I think some of that has to do with the way that he doesn't really fit into this concept, right? You look at his Detroit highlights, everything is him downfield. Yeah. Where he's able to put his body into the catch or maybe just go up strong into a one-on-one situation. And here, everything is kind of very timing-based, short stuff over the middle. I mean, everybody knows what I'm going to say here. The throw over the middle where he's trying to catch all wrong. He's like almost trying to trap against his body, but his body's not there because he's doing a crossing route. So it's super disappointing that that's the reason that Kenny Golladay is not being effective, right? Yep. It's one thing if it's just like, well, he's just not open, where we can just say like, it's our fault. He's not that fast. But like to not catch the ball is just, it's incredibly frustrating.
It's mental too. I think it's mental.
Yeah. At this point, it has to be. At this point, it just has to be. I think the other thing too, though, you bring up the drop stats and that's fine and dandy. But there's other factors into it. Like Marcus Johnson shouldn't be getting the kind of snaps that he's getting. And then also you factor into it. a timing-based offense. And sometimes they may technically be drops, but maybe it's just not an ideal situation. And there's just too much of that throwing into in unideal situations too quickly, too late, all sorts of different things.
When you have an offensive line that is not either A, when they're able to block, you have to have extra blockers, so you have less weapons to throw to, or B, don't hold up long enough where you have to get the ball out quicker than you should. The wide receiver hasn't completed his route yet. And when you have less talented wide receivers like we do, I think everybody in the chat knows that, they're not going to create as much separation as a guy like, whoever, whichever team we're going up against has a better wide receiver. Like this week, there's 3 of them on Washington that's better than any wide receiver we have. So
easily.
Yeah. Curtis Samuel, I'm worried about coming out of the backfield, by the way. I think that could be an X factor in this game. They like to use him a lot on those jet sweeps. And we know the New York Giants have been getting killed off the edge in the run game. But Dotson's a really good, and obviously McLaurin. But it's gonna be a tough matchup this week. We'll see.
I think people underestimate Adoree Jackson's play in the edge, in setting the edge. I guess I don't think he gets the credit until he's the one actually making the tackle, and we've seen that this year where he's come up and made the big run stop at or near the line of scrimmage, preventing big plays. I think we've seen a little bit of cheating inside since he's been hurt. Last week especially, we saw a lot of Zeke stuff bounce outside. I don't think O'Shane Ximines is real good at holding the edge. My hope here is that Azeez not only plays, but is not terribly rusty in setting the edge and playing the run. Because quite frankly, I don't really care about Taylor Heineke. If we lose because Taylor Heineke throws all over us, then we don't deserve anything anyway.
Yeah.
Not that that's going to make me feel any better, but if we lose because we can't set the edge and Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson run all over us, that I can't.
That's like getting your teeth pulled. It's like getting your teeth pulled. When you watch Brian Robinson, because I watched the game last week, Robinson looked good. He looked like Brandon Jacobs the way he was running, and
scary.
He's a concern. Gibson, I don't think he's going to play this week, or I don't know if that's changed, but it looked like that he was trending towards he wasn't going to play. So
I believe he's a Sunday decision.
He's a Sunday decision, so we'll see. By the way, is there a link you want me to drop to your podcast? Or
sure. I mean, you can just search on YouTube. It's Just Giants.
Okay.
I can send you a link, I guess.
Send it to me on Twitter. I'll post it throughout the stream.
Yeah,
I appreciate you coming on. I've been wanting to have you on the channel for a bit. It's the first time I asked you in a while, but I saw you. I'm like, let me get you on, man, because you're a good guy.
It's one of those things. We talked during the offseason a whole bunch, like, yeah, we'll do a thing, and then you get into the meat of the season, and there's just so much shit from Monday to Friday, and then you get to it, it's like, well, it's game time, man. Sorry, we'll work something out. It ain't anything, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
Let's redo a couple of these. Demir, man, thank you so much, man. I wouldn't mind Mario Williams in the mid round. He's the wide receiver, I think, out of USC, right? I have not seen a ton. I've watched USC. I haven't really analyzed their receivers. I've more analyzed their quarterback when I've watched them. But I think that's who he's talking about. I think he's a wide receiver out of USC. Listen, we need multiple wide receivers in this year's draft. So whether it's him, whether it's somebody else, I think we need to draft at least 2 wide receivers in this year's draft, preferably one in the first round. I haven't looked a ton into him. I know I'm looking at he's shorter. He's only 5'9".
He's 5'9", yeah.
Yeah, he's shorter. So I think a taller wide receiver is going to fit very well with Dotson. Not Dotson, rather. I'm thinking about Washington this week with Wan'Dale Robinson. I think we could use that guy that's going to fill what Kenny Golladay should have been. If we could find somebody like that. That's why I really like the wide receiver out of TCU. I just don't think he's going to be there when we're picking. But that would be my preference. I'd like more of a taller guy. But that doesn't necessarily have to be what it is. You see tons of great wide receivers that are 5'10", 5'11" in the league that could do everything. Tudo, what's going on, man? Massive salute days, and thanks to Tana and the Grump. We appreciate. Thank you for popping in, man. We appreciate it, Tudo. Do you know Tudo?
He comments on all of my YouTube videos. Thank you always, Tudo.
Tudo's so active in everybody's channel. And Ethan, what's going on, man? Barkley has a lot of drops, though. Am I wrong? Last week, I put that more on Jones than Barkley. I think it was a collaborative effort. I think it's a ball that Barkley has to catch. It hits both your hands. But Jones didn't lead him. It was a bad throw. So I thought that was kind of, you want to call it 50-50, 50-50. But yeah, it seems like Barkley has a decent amount of drops, maybe 3, 4. He has not been great in the passing game this year. I will say, to offset that, Barkley's been, I would say, borderline great in pass protection. His blocking this year is taking a massive step forward. He's been great in that department. But yeah, it has not been great in the pass game this year.
I'll actually say also that fourth down incompletion goes partially on Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll as well.
10 men on the field.
There's no way that those people are not partially culpable in only having 10 guys in the field.
I want to get your opinion on that because that was a huge topic on Twitter after the game. Huge. I saw everybody complaining about the New York Giants' decision to go for it on fourth down. And obviously, I live stream every game. I was in complete agreement with Daboll to go for it in that spot. And I'm going to explain why. I think there was maybe like 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. We had it on like our own 45. It was around midfield, 4th and 1. And I understand we were only down by 1 point. But if you remember, they had the ball the entire third quarter. So I said to myself, if we punt this ball away, our defense is running on fumes. You've got a 4th and 1 here. You have to try to extend this drive. You pick up this first down, you give yourself a chance to win this football game. In my heart of hearts, I said to myself, if we punt this ball away, they're going right down the field. They're going to chew up the clock, and our defense is going to have nothing left in the fourth quarter. Like at that point in the game, I thought it was appropriate to go for it there on fourth down. And yes, I agree with you. Obviously, they needed to have 11 players on the field, but Kafka drew up the right play. The players have to execute.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. First of all, Kafka drew up the right play because if that is a proper throw and a proper catch, there's a good chance that that's not only a first down, it's a possible touchdown. So that's the definition of writing up the right play. It wasn't a doubt in my mind that you go for it there. I couldn't even believe
like a lot of people hated it.
I understand that it was early in the game, whatever. But
you know what it is though. It's Monday morning coach. That's what happens when you're wrong. Like the 2-point conversion.
When shit doesn't work, it's the dumbest idea ever.
Yeah, but when it works, everybody praises the guy. But it was the right. I agree with you. It's the right decision.
You're 100% right in that they had the ball for the entire third quarter, but also we were playing in Dallas, and that place was not. They were waiting for Dallas to do something all game. We had the lead up until that point in the third quarter.
Yeah,
that stadium was stunned, and then they marched down the field meticulously. They score points. The energy, all of the momentum was behind them. And the best way, in my opinion, to suck the momentum out of a stadium is to just convert third downs. Right. Having been in the stadium every single Sunday and slamming on seats on third down to make as much noise as possible, nothing just completely makes me lethargic, like having to get up and do it a 5th time on the same drive and just sit back down afterwards. Because
that is a great point. That is a great point.
All of the momentum was behind them. The whole stadium behind them. That place was rocking. It was loud for the first time in that game since kickoff. It was the complete right thing to do. And had everything worked out the way it should have with 11 guys in the field and a proper throw, everyone in that stadium would have sat down. Especially if he was able to take that upfield.
It's so crazy. Like that to me is, and Jones has been very good in that overall this year in those situations. But that to me, give me that. Give me the quarterback that converts on those situations over the 400-yard passer. That to me is what wins football games. Because when you think back to that game, if we convert on that 4th and 1, as crazy as this may sound right now, Grump, we might have won that football game.
We could have won that football game, especially if, like I said, that's a huge drop.
Yep, everything. Because if you convert that 4th down, you chew up another 4 or 5 minutes on the drive and you score, your defense is a little bit more rested. You have the lead. Dallas plays differently. Like it's a completely different game.
And not only that, your defense is not just rested. They're jazzed up. The offense did their part. Let's go do our part. You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, Daniel Jones is also culpable. He's got to know that there's not enough guys in the huddle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'm not giving him a pass at all. He gets double blame for bad throw and not paying attention.
Yeah, no, listen, Jones has done a good job for the most part in big situations this year.
Agree.
He did not do good in that spot. And neither did Barkley, and obviously the coaching staff. You can't have 10 guys. Like, everybody screwed up. Everybody.
Kafka's in the booth, man. He's got the best view.
Yeah, everybody screwed up. And we can't have that this week.
You know what sucks too is that the Washington game, I feel like one Washington game a year, we're good for a really dumb move. Something stupid.
But I will say, we usually beat them anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
Like if there was one team that Daniel Jones has had success against, it's them. He's 4-1. So hopefully he shows up. I mean, his stats against Washington are much better than anybody else. Frank, man, thank you so much, man, for the $10 donation, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for being here. And Joe says, reselling 2 tickets on TickPick. $50 each, can't go. Well, there you go. Joe.
It's a bargain.
Joe, if you need any help, message me on Twitter, and I'll I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but if you do, if you have it, sorry, I got the hiccups. If you have a Twitter, message me on Twitter and I'll post them and maybe somebody will want to go to the game. But if you have any trouble, but thank you so much for being here, buddy. I appreciate it. And Mighty Mango says, "Hey Chris, I'm ready for tomorrow." And my captain Morgan is ready also. Let's go, man. Let's talk about who we're getting back tomorrow. How excited are you to see Kayvon Thibodeau, or after the performance he had last week, play with Azeez Ojulari? And this is the first game all year we've had Azeez, Leonard, Dex, and Kayvon all on the field at the same time. And this is coming off the performance that Kayvon had last week, where he looked like a man possessed. I don't want to hear it anymore on Twitter. I don't want to hear it anymore on my YouTube channel. People telling me that Kayvon Thibodeau is a bust. This guy was no. Kayvon Thibodeau is a monster, and he's just learning. He's only going to get much better. I don't care what his sack numbers say. He was incredible. He was the best player in the field. He was that good last week. But how excited are you to see the full repertoire this week with this pass rush?
I'm more excited to see Azeez Ojulari than I think Evan Neal.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, this defense doesn't really prioritize the edge rushers necessarily getting home. I mean, this is a defense that just generates pressure constantly. It doesn't have to get a sack. It could be an incomplete pass. It could forcing quarterbacks to make stupid decisions, forcing them to make rushed decisions, making them have to double think because they don't understand what's happening post snap. That's what this defense is about. It's about creating mistakes and things like that. So Kayvon Thibodeau's numbers in this defense with Wink Martindale, I'm not sure if the sack numbers themselves are ever going to get high, but that doesn't mean that he's not fulfilling his role precisely the way it needs to be done. I mean, I've always been one to be tone deaf to the narrative of people who have no idea what's really going on and just, are just Googling stats. So I could care less. Twitter can say whatever it wants. I kind of know what I'm seeing on the field. And last week, if you watched that game last week and thought that Thibodeau had a bad game because he didn't get home, then there's no conversation for me to have with that person. You know what I mean?
Thibodeau last week was the best player on the field for both teams, as far as I'm concerned. That's how good he was.
Did Micah Parsons get bumped down to 1 sack or a sack and a half?
I didn't look at the stat sheet. I didn't look at
his first sack was horseshit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just saying that since you said that Thibodeau was the best player in the field, I thought I'd mention that.
Listen, Andrew Thomas had the flu.
Well, it's not even the point. I mean, that sack, he kind of like bonked into Jones, who stayed upright and was running forward and then got tackled by somebody else behind the line of scrimmage. He would have actually had a first down if it weren't for the other guy. And in that moment, immediately, because they do adjust stats after the game. They credited the whole sack to Parsons.
I'm going to look it up right now.
I don't know how that's not a half sack. I don't know.
Let me look it up. Micah Parsons. Let me see his stats. Let me see if he got it. I know he had, what do you have, 8 sacks coming in? Yeah, they gave him credit. No, he had 10 sacks coming. He's got 12 now. They gave him credit for 2.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I don't know. Somebody who's bored, check out that first sack by Micah Parsons and see if you think that should be a half sack or not.
And Eric Powell says, I believe we feed Saquon to make the playoff push. I mean, we have no choice. He's our guy. He's our weapon. He's going to get fed. But to go back to your point, I think this is the week where I'm not saying the Giants intended to lose last week or they didn't try to do everything in their power to win, but I think they had Daniel Jones a little bit on a leash. I think they had him a little bit of a pitch count. I don't think they wanted to use his legs quite as much because they knew down the stretch they were going to have to unload the gun. And I think they do that this week. I think you're going to see Daniel Jones a lot more in the run game this week and going forward because these are must-win games going forward. But that's our best weapon outside of Saquon Barkley. Unfortunately, due to all the limitations with our wide receivers, is Daniel Jones's legs. So I think the combination of Barkley and Jones, you're going to see it. They're going to have to do. They have to use Jones with the bootlegs, with the RPOs in this game. They got to do it.
But is that unfortunate? I mean, that's part of who Daniel Jones is.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it can't even be further enhanced.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what Jones's legs could look like and Barkley's legs could look like if we actually had a real wide receiving core. Like, it's unfortunate that that's our only offense.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody on the outside.
Yeah, and Dan Duggan made the point that his knee brace appears to be off. The knee brace that they're hiding underneath his pants, by the way, and socks. It appeared to be, I think it was this week, and I think it was Dan Duggan that said it, that he's not wearing it anymore. And Mike Kafka is definitely a guy who is meticulous about what he's putting on film in games. So I agree with you. I think that they have a section of this offense that they have been letting collect dust for a couple weeks that they were saving for this stretch. I think that's true.
Dable even said it this week, according to Thibodeau. This is a new season. This is where it starts.
Yeah.
They knew it. They were forward thinking. They saw the schedule. They weren't dumb. They said, all right, we're playing the Cowboys. It's going to be tough. Thanksgiving, 4 days after we played Detroit, we're not going to show you the full repertoire. We're going to come out and we're going to unload I think you're going to see them use a ton of running plays with both Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones this week, and we'll see. But I'm excited. Let's talk a bit about Jones. Let's talk, because that's obviously a huge topic of conversation. And I don't even want to get into whether or not you think he's going to be back or not, because you may not know right now. And honestly, I don't know right now. I have my opinion. I think he's coming back. And I think he should be back due to a lot of the other factors on this team and how limited this roster is. I want to continue to build up the roster. But what's your overall take on Jones this year?
This year, I think he's made a massive improvement. I want to say that he's been fantastic. I think objectively as a football consumer, I think that would be overstating it, but that would be, I want to say that because I'm juxtaposing it off of what we've seen from him in the past. There was like a massive leap here, and it's on a leadership level as well. He looks in command of the offense at times, and you know.
By the way, as you're talking, you just remind me of this stat. I want to read it off to you, and I don't know how much I'm not a huge stat guy like you, but I just found this interesting because I was looking at Daniel Jones's stats like 3 or 4 days ago in terms of how many times he's been sacked. But what I did was I looked at the sacks and I looked at the sack yards. Listen to this. Because I think, personally, this may be an indicator of how much his pocket awareness has improved. His rookie year, he was sacked 38 times for 295 yards. It was 7.76 yards per sack that he lost. 2020, 45 sacks, 286 yards, 6.35 yards per sack lost. 2021, 22 sacks, 160 yards, 7.27 yards per sack lost. This year, 33 sacks, 5 less sacks than his rookie year. His rookie year, 38 sacks, 295. This year, 33 sacks, 193 yards, only 5.84 yards per sack that he's lost. I just found that interesting. That's 2 less yards per sack that he is losing this year as opposed to his rookie year. And I think that points to improved pocket awareness.
You're 100% right. And to me, it's the part of his game that he has needed to get better about, improve upon since he came into the league. I mean, the focus has always been on his fumbles, and I guess that kind of leads to discussions about the O-line and his grip on the ball or whatever. But to me, it was about pocket movement. It seemed, maybe his internal clock was just a little slow, but we also kind of liked that he stayed patient. But it was that he didn't really manipulate the pocket. It's like, you don't have to bail out, but just take a step to your left. Give yourself that extra tick so that they're not swatting the ball as you're releasing it. And that's where we've seen it this year. And it sounds, this is where I'm saying, like, I want to say he's been fantastic, but that's overstating it. But the smart decisions of throwing the ball away and, just escaping out of the pocket by stepping up and sliding out are just the little things that he wasn't doing in years past that were just like, it was all right there for him if he just did that. And it still hasn't been perfect, but I think that he's been a hugely improved player this year. And I think also running an offense that he's comfortable in, it at least appears to me that he's been so much better at faking handoffs. I mean, the rollouts are
he's always been good at that. He's always
been
good at the fake.
So they fool the cameraman. They don't usually fool me, man.
He's always been good at that, though. The RPOs. He's maybe not the bootlegs, but
that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily his. It's truly that I have no idea who has the ball sometimes. And when it was, I want to say it was early in the season, probably before the London game, was like the first time I was like, Jesus, I have no idea who has the ball half the time now.
Yeah.
This is insane. I don't ever really remember watching that with Jones. I mean, partly due to the offense, I guess, that we were running in the past. But to me, he looked so comfortable in this offense this year. So comfortable.
And how much do you think that has to do with Saquon Barkley?
I think it has to do with a ton of things. I think it has to do with this coaching staff. I feel like maybe just in general, he's more relaxed under this coaching staff. I think that's a general sentiment with the team. I think they all feel a little bit more relaxed. We've read reports. I don't know how much I believe them all the time. I think some of it is the way that Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka approached him about the plays that he likes to run, that he's most comfortable running. So I think the system helps him. And I think the system helps Barkley. So I think all of those things work in concert. It's like why your back hurts. It's because you walk funny. It's your feet. You know what I mean? It's everything is together. So
everything goes hand in hand. One thing helps the other.
Yeah, I think this is the right combination for him as a quarterback.
If you're Shane right now, you bringing back Barkley? Let's say he plays well the next 6 games, stays healthy.
You know, I'm less sure about that than I was 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is not because I don't know. He's not a Derrick Henry type. He's closest to Christian McCaffrey of all things, right?
He's not used the same way. I'd like them to use him more like that, but yes.
Right. But he's also just not as good, I don't think. I'm going to say that straight out. I don't think that he's as effective running the ball as Christian McCaffrey is, and I don't think that he's as effective catching the ball and running routes as Christian McCaffrey is. I also don't think that that's an extreme statement. I do think that he's better in the open
catching.
field.
I definitely agree with you. He's not. Yeah.
But in terms, I think where he outshines McCaffrey is just in the open field and improvising and breaking tackles. I think he's better there. But he's not as good as that. And that's where he's going to be aiming money-wise. I just wonder, like, this is a creative coaching staff. They could probably get more out of less. Not more than him. I think that they can get something functional out of a lot less. I don't know. If I'm Joe Shane...
It's a tough decision.
Dude, it really is. And we're not in the meeting room. We don't know the figures that are being thrown around right now. There could be some ludicrous numbers being put on the table. So, you know, this is all kind of conjecture and we're just guessing and all of that. So I want him back. I would love to have him back. I think he's a great vehicle for this team. I think that also the things that we're complaining about here and there, where he's not turning back to make a catch and you know, maybe he's not good for 35 carries. I mean, you know what? No running back really in today's NFL is good for 35 carries in one game between the tackles and then playing another game a week later and then another game 3 days later. So as this team improves, they get more weapons. There's no need for Barkley to be that. And he's not meant to be that. And most guys aren't that. So you bring him back. He performs even better. You can use him the way you want to. I would like to bring him back. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ethan says Barkley kind of looks beat. I don't think he looks beat. I really don't. I think he's going to bounce back this week. I think
his shoulder hurts.
Yeah, I think the 11 days off, he's going to be just fine. And I think he maybe meant Brian Robinson looks like a tank. I'm not sure what he meant by that, but I think Barkley's going to be fine this week. I really do. And I do think he's going to be back, but I think the Giants are going to tag him if he stays healthy and plays the remainder of the year. And they're going to try to work out a contract, but I don't think he's going to get McCaffrey money. I just don't. I don't think Shane's going to do it. Shane, to me, seems like a type of guy that has a value on a player, and he's not going to be willing to exceed that value, which is a good thing. You want your GM to be strong and not overcommit to players that he feels he shouldn't. But I think he'll be back. It's just a matter of, are they going to be able to work out some kind of contract extension? And hopefully they can. I think Barkley's a tremendous player. Both on the field and in the locker room. I think he's a leader on this football team. I think he's a guy that you want. When I envision a New York Giant, that's who I envision. Saquon, like that type of guy. Who Saquon Barkley is. So I want him to stay, but at the same time, I also realize that they're not going to give this guy $15-16 million a year. So we'll see.
So you say that he's not going to get McCaffrey money. I think he's not going to get it from us. But
that's what I mean from the Giants.
Do you think he commands it on the open market though?
If he plays really well the last 6 games, he might, which is why I think the Giants will tag him.
Yeah.
And then they'll use that as a negotiating tactic to try to sign him to like.
Yeah, he ain't gonna play a single game on the tag.
No. But you might be able to sign him to say 3 years 39, 3 years 40. You might be able to get something done where he meets you in the middle. And I think that's what they're gonna attempt to do.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. Fabian, man, thank you very much, man. Tana guest in chat. What's up? Go Giants. Thank you so much, Fabian. Appreciate it, buddy. And John says Barkley isn't beat. The right side of the O-line couldn't open lanes for him. After when we lost Neal and Bellinger, they are back. Now, bold prediction, he gets 100+. I agree with you. I think Barkley's going to have a massive game tomorrow. That's my expectation. Maybe I'll be wrong. And Washington certainly has a very good defensive line, and their defense is very good. So it's not going to be easy. The thing that's impressed me about Barkley this year, and I'm actually surprised about, he hasn't, outside of the Tennessee game, he hasn't really been the type of running back Barkley's been in the past, which is a home run hitter. Like he'd have 150 yards, but he'd get 120 of them on 2 carries. This year, he's kind of been a guy that's getting you 4 yards a tote. He's been that sturdy guy, and then he'll have that 120-yard run, but he has not been the same type of back, which to me is actually more impressive because he's been more consistent, and you still know he has that in the bag when, he's always capable of breaking an 80-yard run, but he hasn't gotten his yards in the same type of way he did earlier on in his career.
I agree. And I think that's actually the better thing in general, right? So my co-host on my show, The Cranky Fan, used to liken him to Barry Sanders in the way that Barry Sanders, if you look at his stat line, you'd be like, man, he was an insane running back. He had all these 100+ games, but that's not how he ran. He would run 1 yard, 0 yards, 2 yards, -4 yards, 85 yards.
Right.
And it would be like that. Like every other drive, he would rip off some gigantic thing. And those pad your stats and those look really nice. But the fact is that Saquon Barkley, for most of the time that he was here, was getting hit 2 yards in the backfield. And all of his stats were pretty much him making magic. And now he's in an offense where he's not getting hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage every play. So
yeah, he's been great. He's been great this year. I'm so happy for him to bounce back and prove a lot of the doubters wrong, whether he's back with the New York Giants or whether he's not. I've always loved Barkley.
Makes me sad. We haven't gotten to see this for the last couple of years. His time here has been
it is because we didn't build the team properly, and it sucks. But I'm happy. I'm so happy for him, and I'm also nervous for him. I'm nervous for him, and I'm nervous for Jones tomorrow because I know how much this game means. And like you, it sounds like, based off what you said about Jones this year, you want him back. I want him back. I think that's the right approach to continue building the overall roster. And then maybe, people talk about, let's trade up for a quarterback. You look at teams that have done in the past, for the most part, where it's been successful, they already had a team. The Kansas City Chiefs already had a team. They had Tyreek Hill. They had Travis Kelce. They went 12-4.
With Alex Smith.
Yeah, they had Alex Smith. The 49ers already had a team when they did it, when they traded up for Trey Lance. So for me, just keep building the roster. Jones is good enough to push forward with, and I think he's going to be even better next year, second year in the same offense when you add him some more weapons. But we'll see. We'll see at year's end. Let's see what we got. To me, the Giants ran Barkley into the ground. I don't think so. But we'll find out this week. But I don't think so. I think he's going to bounce back this week. I think he's going to have a very good game. I really do. I think you're going to see a good game from Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I do. I really do. Benjamin, thank you very much, man. Super. Did you watch the soccer game today?
I wouldn't know a soccer ball if it hit me in the face. I've recently, so I really do put all my effort into footballs. I've only recently been able to expose myself to hockey, trying to get myself to the same level that I am at with football.
Obviously, you knew we were playing today.
I opened up the app. I saw the score. We were already losing by the time I woke up and did what I had to do this morning. So I was like, I could throw this on or not. So I followed the score, and I was pretty much at the point where I started looking up Commander stat stuff.
Yeah,
before the game ended.
I'm not a big soccer guy, but I do get into the World Cup when the U.S. is in it, and they did a good job.
It's the coolest thing in the world. The World Cup is the coolest thing in the world, right?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I think that's definitely one of the best sporting events. I think March Madness is the best sporting event. I obviously, you told me you're not a basketball fan, but I love March Madness. That's my favorite individual sporting event. But yeah, the World Cup's certainly up there. The Olympics are obviously really cool.
College basketball is different, though. I mean, and I can get into March Madness.
March Madness is because it's David versus Goliath.
Yeah, I couldn't really care about the NBA playoffs. I'll say that.
I'm with you. Unless the Knicks are in the playoffs, I don't even watch. If the Knicks aren't in the playoffs, I could care less.
Yeah. And part of the reason why college basketball and March Madness is awesome is because it operates like football on single elimination. Yes. I could care less about a best of 7 in basketball, man. I just don't have that energy.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. And I also like I like college basketball better overall, but obviously I'm a huge Knicks fan. So if the Knicks are in, I'm killing myself.
I understand that.
Yeah. Benjamin, thank you very much, man. Super disappointed with USA being knocked out, but still so proud with how hard they fought. I agree. I think they fought their butts off. They just went up against a much better team. The mistakes killed them, but I can't wait for 2026 in a year that has been so improbable. The impossible has happened. They were great, USA. And the final score today, because I watched this start to finish, the final score didn't indicate how close that game was. The U.S. had probably 3 opportunities to score to score a goal. The first 2 minutes, they had an easy opportunity, and they were clearly not the better team. But in past years, when I've watched USA Soccer, it just felt like to equate it to football, it felt like when the U.S. would versus Brazil or Italy or whatever, it felt like a team that would get to like the 50-yard line and just start throwing up Hail Marys and hope for pass interferences and luck. And they knew they couldn't outskill them with the running game and the passing game and whatever. They went toe-to-toe like this year. So I was impressed with USA, and I think they are trending in the right direction. Jason, man, thank you very much, man. How do we feel about OBJ coming back? Yeah, I want to get your take on OBJ. Would be great on a lot of the levels, depending on the contract. Sit him this year, rehab and learn the system. But going into next year, he gives us a huge momentum as a team, not a one, but a good player. I think he meant to say he's not a number one wide receiver, but a good player. What's your take?
Look, I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo a guy that's as talented as Odell Beckham Jr. if he is signed by this team. So everything I'm about to say after this, keep that in mind. If it happens, I know what he can bring to the table, what he's brought to the table in the past, and I certainly know that we ain't got shit there. So it's definitely a huge need. I can't picture a man as practical as I think Joe Schoen is, and I think Brian Daboll is, in signing a 30-year-old that has had 3 season-ending injuries to the same leg, 2 to the same knee. He has not done anything since the last injury that we know of. So there's going to be rush. This is such a Giants fan thing to want this, because if Odell Beckham were drafted in 2014 by Dallas, nobody would want this. You
literally took the words out of my mouth.
Nobody would want this.
I've used this point now for 3 weeks. I say it to my chat all the time. If he was never a New York Giant and he was a New England Patriot, any other team, and would you want to sign him? And if you're being honest with yourself, you're probably going to say no. He's 30 years old. He's coming off 2 ACL tears. It's the aura. And Odell's not stupid, by the way. Odell knows by getting the New York Giants excited, by getting the fan base excited, it potentially could up his market. He's smart.
Yes.
But I agree with you. Unless it's a no commitment, basically. Yeah, I'll bring him back for that. If it's a 1-year commitment or a 2-year commitment that's very cheap. But if you're Odell, why are you going to do that when you can get a better deal from what Goat just said, the Dallas Cowboys, which is what I think is going to happen. I think Dallas just seems to be the type of team. Jerry Jones seems to be the type of team. One, they're competing for a Super Bowl this year, legitimately. But 2, I mean, he craves superstars. I mean, that's Odell brings star power.
100%. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room real quick. I know everybody here doesn't want to talk about how Odell is potentially a problem, not in the locker room, but just off the field. It's just a truth. It's a fact. This dude has made a circus out of being an available free agent, the way we've only ever really seen like LeBron do.
It's right? Very LeBron-esque.
Yeah, and in the midst of it all.
But to be fair to OBJ, I understand why he's doing it. Because his market, I don't think OBJ with LeBron, I thought it was for attention. And I definitely think OBJ's done things for attention in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't think OBJ's doing this so much for attention. I think he's doing it because he knows he doesn't have much of a market right now. And if he could draw up excitement and interest, it may force a team to spend a little bit more than they may want. That's just my opinion on it.
Look, all I'm saying is all of these, how many NFL players are there in the league? Hundreds, thousands, maybe.
I mean, 53 times 32, whatever that is.
Yeah, right? Yeah. They usually manage to get on and off planes without incident.
That's a good point.
In the midst of all of this branding, he has gotten into an argument that he made public with a brand, a contract over some, I don't even remember what the hell it was, t-shirt deal, shoe deal, doesn't matter, and has had to be removed from a plane. But like, these are, I guess, minor things when taken in a vacuum, but we can't look at Odell Beckham in a vacuum.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
You take year by year, there's stuff that I don't know. We can't just write off the field things. I know people want to because they're not a big deal, but collectively they're a big deal. They're annoying. And it's an issue that I don't think Joe Schoen needs or wants.
I don't think we're signing him.
I really don't. I never did.
I think he's using the Giants to get a bigger contract with the Cowboys. That's honestly what I feel. That's what I've always felt.
And that's why I'm not going to hold that against him.
I am not at all. To be honest with you, if I was Odell, I'd do the same exact thing.
I will say this. little disappointed in Giants fans. The Odell, we weren't the ones that wanted you gone. Please come home, guys. That was some soft shit
All
that
right,
I'm
here's
seeing
what I'm
around
gonna
on
say.
Twitter.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I don't think that's the majority of Giants fans.
I don't think so either. But that is some embarrassing
I think there
behavior.
is a small portion of Giants fans, and I understand it. I'm not bashing those fans because they're younger fans. I think the majority of fans, and they didn't get to experience winning like we did. They didn't get to experience the 2011 Super Bowl. They didn't get to experience the 2007 Super Bowl. And Odell was their guy. And I feel like a lot of fans became Giants fans because of Odell in the younger generation. And they see the opportunity to bring him back. And they're going to do everything in their power to try to help assist that. So I'm not coming down on those fans, but I'm in agreement with you. As a fan, me personally, I don't even care about Odell right now.
Yeah.
All I'm focused on is a playoff game tomorrow. That's it.
Yeah.
If Odell comes, he comes. I'm not even focused on Odell right now.
Yeah, I understand all that, and you're almost definitely right that these are younger fans. This is all they have, whatever. But I mean, I was young once too, and I said stupid stuff, and I'm sure I was called out on it and learned my lessons. Just throwing it out there. It's okay. I've said stupid stuff lately, so it's whatever.
I understand the importance of Odell though to the fan base.
I get that. Yes, very much.
But for me, it's the team. It's about the team. It's not about.
I have a Beckham the Catch Christmas ornament. It's literally hanging on my Christmas tree right now. Yeah. Don't think that it's not a huge part of my life. That catch happened on my birthday too. I was there. That is a moment that is now with me. You know what I mean? Like that is now.
Oh, you were at the game. You were at the game.
I was at the game. The game was on my birthday. The tickets were a birthday present, and then the game that happened at the game. That is a huge part of who I am as a Giants fan. That doesn't really mean anything today with him so far removed from that. That was 8 years ago.
Yeah. I remember where I was on that game. I was coming home from Vegas. I was on a plane and I was watching the game on the plane. That's where I was for the Odell game. But that's obviously one of the greatest plays in the history of Giants football.
I love it.
Door Gunner, man, thank you very much, man. Close game tomorrow, but my Commanders will win it. Hey, man, if I was a Commanders fan, I'd feel that way too. You guys won 6 out of 7. You have a narrow loss. Your only loss is to the Vikings, and you should have probably won that game.
Yep.
But to be fair, you probably should have lost last week to the Falcons. But regardless, 6-1, last 7 games. And, yeah, you got a good football team right now. I'm concerned, no doubt about it.
Knocked off Philly, man. That's enough for me.
Yeah. And they really are like a spitting image of the Giants in terms of the way that they play. But the difference is they have some weapons in the passing game, and we don't. So I worry about that, right? Because McLaurin's a mismatch, but they also have Heineke throwing the ball, who is prone to turnovers. And I do think we're going to create some turnovers in this game. I do think when you combine the type of quarterback that Taylor Heineke is and the type of defensive coordinator that Wink is, I think we're going to be very aggressive. And I do think the Giants will create some turnovers in this game. And I really do think the Giants are going to win this game. And I think that's going to be the major reason why. I think Heineke is going to be more sloppy with the football than Daniel Jones.
I agree with you. I actually think that's going to be the main driver. I don't think that our offense is going to take off onto another level, at least not right away. But I do think that the defense comes out and just starts hammering Taylor Heineke. If they can shut down the run game, like I think they can, I think that keeps the Giants fan base nice and loud. Nothing makes that stadium get loud like sacks. It really does. That is like the touchdowns, when they're big touchdowns, obviously, of course, that's every stadium, but sacks, especially in big moments, that place is at home finally. You know what I mean?
How loud do you think the stadium is going to be tomorrow if Kayvon gets a sack?
Considering how loud it got when Kenny Golladay caught a first down a couple weeks ago and broke into a Kenny chant. It depends on the context of the game. Of course, Giants fans are very, very mood heavy.
Big sack.
It'll get pretty loud. I think it'll be. I don't think it necessarily even has to be Kayvon. It might. Yeah, you know what? It'll be pretty loud. It's gonna get nuts because he'll get up and do a dance and stuff.
He'll do the salsa.
I think if Dex gets one too, it'll be just as loud.
How about Dex this year? Holy crap!
That is my guy right there. I was so excited for that draft pick. That was like my. I guess for people who don't know me that well, that's like where I really cut my teeth on is like draft stuff, college stuff, and I remember being like the only one that was really high on him before the draft. I was like, dude, this guy plays all over the defensive line and he succeeds
And he's
everywhere.
330 pounds.
Yeah, he's nuts. And then I didn't even think he was on our radar, whatever. And then like, he just didn't really live up to my expectations in the context of the defense. I mean, he did, stats wise, he was always there, but this is what I thought he was going to be, or I guess hoped. So I'm living my Dexter Lawrence dream.
And what do you think the biggest reason for that is? Is it? I think the biggest reason is because they finally gave him a defined position. Like they put him at the nose tackle. I think that is the biggest reason as to why. But Kayvon may have something to do with it too.
Yeah, I think and I also think the scheme allows for more one-on-ones and just the confusion created by Wink's defense creates bad matchups on the offensive line. You have the if they read it wrong at the snap, then you have guys taking false steps where they don't need to. It's just everything in football is that extra second. Yeah. So if they think they're supposed to block someone that never comes in on a blitz through the A gap, and that's all the extra second he needs to just get a shoulder ahead and just kind of bully his way through, I really think the complexity of the defense helps as well.
He's been awesome.
Yeah.
Gundy says, what about Washington would you want to focus on the most? All right, I'll go offense and defense. On their offense, it's tough to say because I would say put 8 in the box and try to stop Robinson, but I do think that their weapons could really hurt us. So I think a huge factor in this game, Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams have to do a tremendous job up the middle because we cannot let Brian Robinson run all over us because I don't think we could afford to commit putting 8 in the box because then they're going to tear us up with their wide receiving core. It's tough. It's tough. I think this is going to be a game where you try to make them one-dimensional, which means you try to make them throw the ball. So you got to stop the ground game. You got to stop Robinson. And you got to hope you can create some turnovers when Heineke drops back to pass, when you blitz him. We know that we have limitations in terms of coverage. Those are mismatches all over the field against their receivers with all the injuries that we have. But if you could draw up pressure with the scheme that Wink possesses, you may be able to create a couple of turnovers in this game. So for me, it's getting them into obvious passing situations, which means stopping the run, not letting Brian Robinson, like you said earlier, just kill us throughout the game, just like Brandon Jacobs used to do when he was a New York Giant. And then on offense, I'm going to say Daniel Jones's legs. I think Daniel Jones's legs are so important in this game because I think that's going to also alleviate the pressure on Barkley. If they try to overcommit to stop Barkley, if Jones starts beating you off the edge with his legs, that starts opening up running lanes for Barkley. So I think Daniel Jones's legs is a massive X factor on offense. And on defense, I think you have to find a way to keep their ground game in check and then try to create a couple mistakes throughout the game when Heineke drops back to pass.
Yeah, 100% on both counts. I'll say I'll just add to what you said because I agree on both counts exactly what you said. For stopping the run, it's about controlling the line of scrimmage. Like you were saying with stacking the box, like the inside guys have to do their job. The outside guys have to set the edge. Basically what I'm saying is they can't stop the run by committing their linebackers every single time. And the reason why is because we're really bad at playing play action.
Right.
Where the defense hasn't been good at that all year. And Taylor Heineke will be just fine faking a handoff and throwing right behind Jalen Smith and Tay Crowder and Micah McFadden. That will eat us apart if that's how we have to stop the run. That means we have to control the line of scrimmage. And adding to that, they're hurt and also not great. Trey Turner doesn't look like he's going to play at right guard. They just called up Wes Schwitzer or whatever from IR. He's been gone for 9 weeks or something like that with a concussion injury, had lost that job to Trey Turner in training camp. He might not even be the right guard. They might be moving right tackle Sam Cosmi in to right guard, and he's playing with like 8 fingers or something like that. I think he damaged like the 3 fingers.
I liked him as a prospect, Cosmi.
I liked him as a prospect. I think they drafted him too high, and I think guard might be his better spot anyway.
He was drafted as a tackle, right?
Yeah, and that's where he's been playing. He's been splitting reps with Cornelius Lucas, which, by the way, the one game that Washington did lose in that stretch against the Vikings, just search Cornelius Lucas on Twitter and watch Washington Commanders fans complain about how bad he played in that game. I mean, I know that it's Danielle Hunter and whatever, but he looked really bad in pass protection in that game. And if he has to play full time at right tackle with Aziz coming back, splitting time with Hadi, I'm happy with that. I'll take that. And I'll also take Wes Schwitzer playing right guard. Either one is a win for the Giants. As far as DJ's legs go, I'm 100% in agreement there. I think that you bring that zone read back into it. And they haven't really done a whole lot of run pass options. Yeah. I think that can work, especially now that you have Bellinger back as well. It just sucks that Wandale's out because I think he's really the guy. But Richie James could probably do that.
I wanted to share this with the chat real quick. I saw somebody say, Chris, did you know that Bob Papa talked about you on his podcast? I actually did. But here it is for anybody that didn't see it. This was pretty cool. I don't know if you saw. Did you see this?
I had not. I saw that you mentioned it this morning, but I was running around. So
I made a tweet. The thing I told you about the drop balls where Daniel Jones throws. And he picked up on it. He mentioned me in his podcast. So here it is real quick.
It is, but it does. When he's effective. I saw this stat on Twitter from the entertainer. I don't know how accurate it is, but it does kind of make sense. According to this stat that's out there about drop passes, Daniel Jones, 1 out of every 16 of his passes gets dropped, according to this stat that I saw. Again.
So yeah, I just saw somebody mention that in the chat. So yes, I did see it. So for anybody that didn't see it, that was pretty cool. Somebody pointed that out to me yesterday. I was like, oh my God. And then Carl Banks actually added me, and he showed me a lot of love. So
nice.
That was cool to get acknowledged by those two guys. That was
awesome. You were so trusted that Bob Papa didn't even bother to double check. He was like, I don't know how accurate this, but let's go with this.
Yeah. Well, here's
praise.
Here's the stat that they were talking about. Let me just this is the tweet they were talking. When you put it in context with all the other quarterbacks, it's insane when you look at it, just how bad this wide receiving core is. Because I was looking at, because I knew the Giants drops were bad, but I was like, let me actually dive into this and look at how bad it is. Like when you compare it to other quarterbacks, look at the context. Daniel Jones, 1 drop every 15.8 pass attempts. Kirk Cousins, 1 drop every 29.57. Hurts, 1 drop every 28.9. Burrow, 1 drop every 31.46. Kyler, 32.4. Mariota, 34.5. Carr, 42.6. Geno, 44.1. And everybody talks about Geno Smith. Give Daniel Jones those 2 wide receivers. Have 1 drop every 44 pass attempts. Look how different his stats are going to look. So when I looked at that, I was like, holy crap.
What is Carr doing so? What's his excuse?
Yeah, I was just amazed, but it was just cool. But yeah, Bob Papa picked up on that. And,
that's awesome.
I thought that was cool. I got Julian in the background. I told him I was going to have him come on. Can you hang around for a bit?
Yeah, of course.
All right, so I'm gonna open up the chat after Julian because I promised him I'd have him on. He was actually at the TCU game. I'm gonna have him come on. He messaged me on Twitter, and then I'm gonna open up the chat, the link to the chat for anybody that wants to come on via video. But Benjamin says, sometimes I think Cowboys fans and Eagle fans enjoy colonoscopies. It's basically when you what is he even talking about? When you shove a camera up your ass, except replace the camera. Okay. Guys like Mark Holmes, Philly 500. You know what? I think you're probably right. I mean, Eagles, if you root for the Eagles, you probably would enjoy a colonoscopy. That's how I think. What's your opinion on Eagles fans?
I don't know what I'm allowed and what I'm not allowed to say on this show. It's probably the only fan base in sports that I wish could just not exist.
Yeah.
I'll just be as nice as I possibly can.
Like if
they've
you
encroached on my territory, man. I live in North Jersey, right around Central and Morris County. And over the last 10 years, I've seen more and more Eagles magnets and stuff on cars in the parking lot. I should just start carrying a baseball bat or just a knife so I can slash tires.
Yeah.
It's infuriating to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had one wish, Eagles fans, just it would be like the Avengers. You snap your finger.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could solve world hunger or all the things that we want rich people to do with their money. But I would probably, if I had all the money in the world, I'd just buy the Eagles franchise and sell it. That's a good idea. just end it. I would just be like,
make it a soccer team. Make it a soccer.
There you go. I'd be like, we're gonna bring it back to our rugby roots, and we're gonna compete on the world stage. And I'm gonna demolish the link and move the franchise to Australia or something. I don't know.
I like it. John says, I would like Kafka to use Breida more often. I agree with that.
Yes.
And to keep Barkley fresh in the final stretch. He always gets positive. For me, and I'll read the rest of it, positive yards, you can use him in the pass game as well. For me, it's not even so much about getting Barkley, because I think we need to use Barkley. I'm not saying he used to have 35 carries, but I think Breida could be a valuable piece in this offense, and we haven't used him to his full capabilities. He's an explosive player. He's a guy that I think we could use more in the passing game. I think we should use a lot more multiple back sets.
Oh, man, you said it.
It was something we used a lot the first 4 or 5 weeks. You haven't seen it as much recently.
You're leading into it. Do you think that's by design? Do you think that pony set is being put aside for
possible for this game and the games going forward? Possible. It also might be because Evan Neal's not out there and they feel like they need extra help blocking when you got Phillips out there and all the injuries we've had on the offensive line. But I'd like to see them get back to that because I thought that was something that was working. The other thing, we haven't used the Wildcat at all. And I know it wasn't working the game after that we did it, but mix it in every now and again. You know, try to
I'm not a huge fan of the Wildcat.
I'm not either. I don't want.
But I agree with you there. 1 or 2 plays a game, just to keep them, keep them guessing, keep them on their feet.
Yeah, maybe use it around the goal line a bit. I don't know, but I just feel like they've gone away from a lot of the things that they did earlier in the year that were kind of working offensively.
I agree.
So I'd like to see them get back to the multiple back sets. Door Gunner says Washington used the run to neutralize the Giants' blitz. Giants crowd the box to stop the run. Then Terry torches your second. That's going to be your plan. There's no doubt about it. And that's why we have to limit your run. But you're absolutely right. If you start getting the ground game going with Brian Robinson and the Giants have to overcommit to stop it, yeah, that's when you're going to start to kill us in the slot. I'm scared to death with Darnay Holmes going up against whoever you put in the slot, whether that's Curtis Samuel, whether that's Terry McLaurin. That's a mismatch nightmare. So, yes, I agree. If we have to overcommit to stop the run, you guys are going to have a party. So we have to do a good job of stopping your run, but without selling out to do it. We'll see if we could do it.
Darnay Holmes is very grabby for my taste.
I'm not a big Darnay. Listen, I love Darnay Holmes, the person. He seems like he's a great guy, really smart guy. I was excited when we drafted him, when I heard all the backstories about him, and seems like a really good guy off the field. I don't think he's a starting cornerback in the NFL. I just every week I watch the guy, he's getting torched. He's getting torched, and now this is year 3 in the league. This is not.
No, you're right. Torched. I just think he's more suited to zone on the inside than man. I don't know.
Next year, who do you think is going to be the slot? You think it's going to be Robinson, or you think it's going to be Flott?
I think Flott's destined for the outside, man.
I agree with you because of his measurables.
Yeah, I think that at LSU he would have been the outside guy once Derek Stingley left, and I know LSU just competed for an SEC championship game just now, but I think he made the right move leaving, because the organization was kind of in turmoil. But I think he was set to start on the outside. His snaps in that final year there, he moved around so much because they were just so hurt. And whatever. I think he's more of an outside corner than an inside one, despite what he did at LSU.
I agree with you, which is why I want to move Robinson back to the slot next year.
Yeah, I agree. That's where he belonged all along.
Yeah, that's where I want to have him next year, and I think that's where he would have been had Bradbury been on the roster this year. But
agree again. Yep.
I'd like to see him move back there next year because I still think Aaron Robinson could be a really good player, especially in the slot.
I loved him.
Yeah.
In that draft class, I think he was my 4th rated cornerback.
He's very physical too.
I love that.
For this defense, too, he'd be perfect in the slot.
You're saying all the things I thought, because he's just even if he's wrong, he's making that decision. He's just going. So that kind of like the pussyfooting that you see a lot, like you don't get to see guys that just make decisions. And most of the time he's right. I'm saying that like whatever, but like he's so downhill. He's just so reactionary. That kind of thing in this defense where you just go and you hit people and you just run forward. He's very good at it. And he's smart too. He's a smart kid.
Yeah, I like him. And we're going to bring on Julian in a second. Jason, going to read this, and we're going to bring on Julian. Jason says the sack Kayvon had on Lamar at the end of the Ravens game was the loudest it's been since I've been going to Giants games. MetLife was shaking. I heard that. I heard that it was really loud for that game. Us Giants fans love great defense. It's in our DNA, G-Man. Yeah, I've only been to one Giant game this year. That was the Texan game. And it was loud. And it was probably the loudest it's been since I've gone to a Giant game in a long time. But I know that there's been other games that were louder this year. But like you were saying, even the game I was in attendance for, every third down, everybody was slamming the chair in front. It was loud. The fans are getting into it, which is great. And you expect that because the team's been playing well. But yeah, I don't even get to hear the games because I stream the game, so the volume's not on when I call them. But everybody told me the crowd was so loud. You were there, so you could tell me. But everybody told me the crowd was super loud for that game.
I would like to tell you that I can remember exactly how loud it was in that moment, but I was part of that. I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
So I was just in the moment, man.
Let's get Julian on, man. Julian, what's going on, man?
Hey, Chris, nice to meet you.
Yeah, man. Good to talk to you, buddy. You were at the TCU game today, right?
Yes, long day.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, man. Must have been a fun. Well, obviously you guys didn't win, but that was a great game. Went to overtime.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Big 12 contest, man. But yes, you asked me to come on Twitter. I figured I'd have you on and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, just wanted to meet you. It's finally an honor to meet you.
Dude, no, man. It's an honor to meet you, man. Thank you for the support on the channel.
I'm just ready for the game tomorrow. At least get my weekend excited again. Finish it off strong.
Now, how do you think we stack up tomorrow?
I don't know. I think we got this though. We just gotta stop Heineke. I think we just gotta blitz. Just blitz. So
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think is Fabian Moreau playing tomorrow?
He's playing, yeah. Thank God.
I think. Oh my gosh, that Thanksgiving was ridiculous.
Did you bring him back next year, by the way?
I would.
It's gonna be tough because we have so many free agents, but
yeah.
You want to talk about an unsung hero this year and I've said it several other streams. He might be the biggest, the biggest. I don't know what term I want to use. I don't want to use the term most important, but unsung I'll use. He's been overlooked by a lot of people. He's been so important for this Giants team this year. So important, Moreau.
Well, I mean, you have to think that the second cornerback position was the biggest topic going into the year, was it not?
Yeah, and then when Robinson goes down, you thought we were cooked.
I mean, I certainly did.
Is Robinson done the whole year, or?
Oh yeah, he's been out. Yeah,
wow.
He's done. He'll be back next year. But Moreau did a tremendous. He really stepped up in a big way. I'd like to have him back, but I just don't know if we're gonna be able to afford it.
I also like Rondarius Williams. I felt like he played good last week.
He played good last week. He did. He played pretty good last week. He stepped in and he played well last week, and we're gonna need it this week. with all the guys that we got out. Is he? I guess Flott's probably the starter on the outside this week.
Yeah.
But Flott is still dealing with. I don't know how healthy Flott is. He's got a concussion. I know he was a full participant, but he is coming off of a concussion, a non-contact one.
I saw he was in a red jersey at practice this week, so I don't know I don't know if he's healthy or not.
We'll see. Fabian says, good night, Tane and chat. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game, man. And thank you so much for being here, Fabian, man. Thank you for being such a great supporter on the channel. Be well.
So if Wentz started, would it be like I don't know. What would y'all think if Wentz started?
I'd rather Wentz start. And I actually think Wentz is probably a better quarterback. But it's not all about the physical attributes when it comes to the quarterback. It's about leadership. It's about the team buying in, and Washington buys in to Heineke. Like that, they just do. I mean, you heard Chase Young 2 years ago, whenever it was when he got his opportunity, like the team loves him. They circle around him. And I think that I'd much rather verse Wentz because of that. The team believes in Heineke.
I think Heineke is, I know Carson Wentz is really good escaping the pocket, but I think Heineke is better at it. I think Heineke is better at making people miss in the pocket and then kind of playing sandlot football.
Exactly. I was going to say he doesn't have any great physical tools, but when it comes down to when the play breaks down, he's very good at improvising. We saw that last year. I think it was last year when they had the 2-play 75-yard drive where the Giants started they started to take over that game, and you felt, okay, we're in good shape. And then he goes down the field in 2 plays. Both plays were, as you just called it, sandlot plays. Things broke down, and he hit big plays, and he is good at that. That's something you got to worry about with him.
Yeah, when Wentz escapes the pocket, that's when he does dumb stuff. That's when he throws directly to James Bradbury in the end zone and stuff like that. So I would, even though I agree with you, Carson Wentz is probably I don't think it's even probably. I think he's the better quarterback completely from a trait standpoint. I think they just win less with him. I think he makes more mistakes. He makes stupid ones.
Yeah, it's kind of like I actually posed this question when the Giants were 7-1 or 6-1 on Twitter, I think we were 6. I can't remember what the record was, but it was like 6-1. I said, how many quarterbacks would we have? I think we were 6-2 maybe. Would we have a better record with? than with Daniel Jones. Because when I thought about it, I'm not saying Daniel Jones is one of the top 5 or 6 most talented quarterbacks in the league, but for the type of team that we have, he's been incredible in terms of holding on to the football, possessing the football, chewing up clock. Not every people laugh at that. They're like, oh, he's just not turning over the football. He's just like, that is a skill. Like that is the most important attribute probably for a quarterback. And all you got to do is look at the Baltimore Ravens game. That's all you got to do. You just look at that game. Final 5, 6, 7 minutes of that game. One quarterback turned the football over. The other one didn't. Which team came out on top? Yeah, twice. So if you have a quarterback that is more like Jameis Winston on the New York Giants type of quarterback, a guy that turns the ball over a lot, if Jameis Winston was the New York Giants quarterback this year, we'd probably have 3 wins.
I had to ask you.
I wouldn't have a co-host.
Yeah, I'm just saying, for the type of team we have, and I think it's probably the same thing with Heineke with Washington. He just fits their team.
Do y'all think Galladay will get at least 1 touchdown before the year ends?
Dude, I just want him not to have a catch. How about that? We'll start there. It's I'm so far gone with Galladay. I already know he's gone.
At this point, I don't think he's going to be on the field, so it sucks.
I think he'll be on the field, but I do think that this is going to be the saddest thing I think I've ever said about a $72 million wide receiver. It won't be talked about, but he's going to have a key block on a Daniel Jones run.
You know what? I'll give him credit for that. And by the way,
he deserves credit for it, but for $72 million, I can get you anybody who can block.
But I just posted the link in the chat for you guys, anybody that wants to join. But I remember he was getting credit for that, and he was blocking well. And I'll give him credit for that. But for $72 million, you better be doing a hell of a lot more than that. I just can't wait till Galladay's gone. I hate even talking about Galladay because to me, it's like the worst signing.
I also feel bad for him.
I do feel bad. I don't hate Galladay. Galladay.
He deserves everything that I guess it's coming his way in a certain sense, but also it can't be fun to be him right now.
I feel bad.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want this.
Yeah, I feel bad for him the same way I felt bad for Evan Ingram. Ingram, I know Giants fans hated him, rightfully so, for all the drops, the key spot, but you still felt bad for him as a human being. And I will give Evan Ingram credit. I will give Kenny Galladay credit. They've handled this very well. Not every player handles this kind of criticism from the fan base the way that they have. So I will give them credit for that. All you got to do is look at a guy like Kadarius Toney, for example, the way that he went off on social media. And he's handled it like a professional. The same thing with Darius Slayton. I mean, fans were tearing Darius Slayton apart before this year started, and I'm so happy for him that he came back, he responded, and he's been a key part of this team this year. But I just can't wait till Galladay's gone.
So you mean Kenny didn't DM you?
Kenny is not DM me yet. No.
that Kadarius Toney DM you posted cracks me up. Oh
I said to myself, I'm not giving myself credit or anything, but some people yelled at me. They're like, "Oh, you did this after he left. Oh, you're an asshole." And I'm like, if I wanted attention, I would have dropped it the second he posted that comment to me 2 months earlier. The reason I posted it wasn't to try to gain likes on Twitter. It was to try to ease Giants fans' minds and tell them my point. Listen, it's probably a good idea we got rid of this guy because he's probably not meant to play in New York if he's going to let some small-time YouTuber get under his skin. And I didn't even say anything bad about the guy. So it's just funny to me. But he wasn't meant to play in New York. And I'm glad he's gone. He was a horrible fit for the media, and we move on. But Galladay, I think he's mature. He's handling it well. He just sucks. Yeah. He's just bad. And he also just doesn't fit the offense. He doesn't fit the offense.
And I bought my Kadarius Toney jersey last year. What should I do with it? Should I burn it or what?
Never burn a jersey personally.
Yeah.
Whatever you do with it, don't record it and put it on anything.
Yeah.
Wait. Since we're talking to him, he was just at the TCU game. We're talking wide receivers. Can I ask what would you do if we signed Quentin Johnson, if we drafted him?
Love it.
Yeah. Would you buy a jersey that day?
Yeah.
He actually has a picture with Quentin Johnson. He showed it to me on Twitter.
Oh shit.
Know him personally. One of my good friends.
I don't know if do you want me to show it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, because maybe you don't want me to show your face or something.
Go ahead.
I didn't realize I was talking to a good friend of the man. You start sending him some Giants gear. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. There he is, right with him right there.
Oh, it's awesome. Oh, how tall are you, man? You don't come Come right up to
I'm
his
like
cheeks.
5'10", 5'11".
Is he leaning over then, or are you on a chair?
Because
No,
he's 6'4", right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
6'4", yeah.
He looks. If you're 5'10", he looks more like 6'2".
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
They might be up in that. Maybe it's with cleats on. He's 6'3.5".
Yeah,
But
he's it's nighttime. He's relaxed. He's not standing
Yeah.
tall. It's all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But that's cool, man. That's cool
That's
that you
awesome.
that you know him, man. And listen, I was watching the game today, and I would love. I'm praying that Quentin Johnson runs like a 4.7 40 and he drops down draft boards, because I would love to have Quentin Johnson on the New York Giants. I think he'd be so good for this offense. But
the game. I'm still recovering. Oh, it's so sad, especially even the stadium. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But buddy, man, I'm gonna let you go. I got some people waiting, and
Awesome.
I just want
Very
to
nice
say,
meeting you.
yeah, we're gonna get give me your final score prediction before I let you go.
I think we'll win by 3, probably.
Of course, if we're gonna win, it's gonna be by 1, 2, or 3. You know that it's always gonna come down to the last second.
20, probably 24, 21.
I could see something like that.
At least, yeah.
I could see something low 20s, high teens. Something that's where the Giants play. That's where Washington plays. So I agree with you. It's gonna be right in that area. But thank you so much for calling in, and enjoy the game tomorrow, Julian.
Also, nice meeting you too.
Yeah, man. Of course, buddy. Thank you.
Later, bro.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's read a couple of these, and we're going to bring on the next caller. Danny Thomas says we need to run the ball with Breida and Brightwell. Do you think we should run Saquon and one of the other backs and let Saquon be a decoy in some plays?
Yes.
When he's saying that, I'm assuming he's asking multiple back sets where Saquon's on the field and we use. Yeah, yes, we've done that. We've done that this year. I remember the 3-back play actually. I think it was like a 4th down, where Brightwell ran for like 22 yards or something like that. I would love to see them get creative with the run game. We need to. So yeah, I'd love to see things like that. I think they need to get back to that this week.
I don't even think it's necessarily Saquon as a decoy. It's just you send him out there, and if they don't send the adequate resources to cover him, you've got a perfectly good guy in the open to throw the ball to or hand the ball to. And if they could just overcommit resources to him and free up somebody else. I think it's not necessarily a decoy. It's just giving them more things to worry and think about. That's what
pisses me off so much about the Wan'Dale Robinson injury.
Yeah.
Because he finally you got to see what they were growing him to be in this offense. And dude,
he was playing like a maniac in that game.
He was playing like a maniac. And I even said it while I was watching the game before he even caught a ball. The first like 5 or 6 plays, I'm like, I like the way they're using Wan'Dale Robinson today, because every play it was motion, pre-snap motion, and I loved it. And it sucks that he got hurt, because I really feel like he could have made a big difference down the stretch for the Giants. But I'm excited for him next year. But I really felt like he could have made a big difference for the Giants the last 6 weeks. But we're gonna have to find a way to overcome it, because he's another guy that you could have used with jet sweeps and forward pitches. And I'm so excited to see how they use him next year, because I like Wan'Dale Robinson. RCB says, Washington fan, Cosme has been really good since he's been back. Schletzer is really good at guard, especially as depth. Run heavy play action, and Heineke is really good off play action, throwing to the right. Well, thank you for the tip. I'm going to let Wink know, and now you're going to lose because of it.
Yeah. I think Wes Schweitzer is good as depth, but you're now asking him to be a starter. And this is a game. The Giants are a team that need any advantage they can, and I will take a right guard advantage. It's because you'd be lining up over, Dexter Lawrence probably. I'll take any advantage. Yeah.
Yeah. That's our strength. So if they have a weakness this week there, hopefully we could take advantage of it. Big Daddy says Dabols will bring us a Super Bowl soon. Love it. Love the positivity. And listen, I think we're definitely trending down the right path. Like I know like a lot of Giants fans, myself included, at times, I look at the Raiders last year, and I feel like the Raiders took advantage of a pretty soft schedule. They went 9-8. They made the playoffs, and they traded for a high-end wide receiver, something that I could potentially see the Giants do this year. And now this year they're reverting back to the mean, and they're really disappointing with a harder schedule. And I know some Giants fans are worried about that. I'm not, because I believe in our coach. I believe in our head coach. And it's the same thing with I've seen people frequently compare the New York Giants to the Tennessee Titans, and it's such a good comparison. In terms of the way that the team is built. And that team does not have the most talent, but they have a great head coach, and they have a team that knows what they're best at, and they maximize their value. And I feel like that's what Dable is going to be. I think this is always going to be a team at least I hope, that finds a way to stay competitive. I'm not saying we're a Super Bowl roster yet. We're not. We're not even close. But I'm not worried about this team falling completely off next year. I'm really not. I think we're going to be a team that is going to be well coached, and it should only be better next year when these players are more acclimated to the systems.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the Raiders taking advantage of a soft schedule. The difference is that the Giants aren't in the middle of building something. They literally just started. They didn't even start yet. I mean, this is kind of a throwaway year for them. They kind of are, they're stuck with some contracts I'm sure they don't want. So, I mean, this is a year that I came into it be like, yeah, it is what it is. I'm not worried about wins. I'm worried about, hopefully I'm going to see coaching decisions I like. That went out the door the first week. I mean, we went right into the like, oh my God, we're doing this, huh? Okay. So yeah, I think I agree with you because we are trending down that path. It's different than the Raiders taking advantage of a soft schedule.
For sure. John, I'm going to get to you in 1 second. Just going to read in. We got time. He says, what's going on? Happy to catch a live stream. I'm calling it now. TH4 interception. Giants win. Giants get 4 sacks rather, and DJ runs for over 50 yards. Also, you're talking about Boot. That's the wide receiver from LSU in the second round. I like him. He's had some injury problems this year, right?
I believe so. I don't. It's very early in the process. I like him. I don't love him.
Yeah, I've watched a few LSU games. I like him. Same as you. I like him, but I worry a little bit about the injuries. But I like the kid from TCU a lot more. But he's a talented wide receiver though, from what I've seen at least, and I know he's highly thought of. But John, what's going on, man? Thanks so much for popping in, buddy.
What's going on, guys?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. How's your night going?
We're talking Giants. What's better than that?
I just had
nothing
tacos.
better than it.
You had tacos?
Sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Chicken, steak. What did you have?
Brisket for one and chicken or chorizo for the other.
That sounds good to me, man.
Yeah.
Now you get me hungry. I might have to stop the stream.
Sorry.
What's up, John?
So, how you guys feeling tomorrow? I'm nervous or excited?
Excited. More excited than nervous. You're always nervous going into a big game as a fan, but more excited than nervous.
I'm nervous at kickoff.
Yeah.
Walking into the stadium, I'm still jazzed up. So.
Let me ask you right now, both you guys, you want the ball first?
I never want the ball first. It always just makes me mad because we're such a second half team. Then, like, once you get the ball at the second half first, you get like a rhythm going, and then just like a spark a whole team going. And then, like, say you get the ball, and then you put like a score and drive to get a stop on defense. Like, it's your game. Second half team always wins.
What about you?
I don't want the ball to start the game. I think last week against Dallas was the first time that we scored points before the half. So if you start with the ball and let's just say you have an opportunity for a 4-minute drive, and the way it's gone for the Giants this year is they screw it up almost immediately and turn the ball over to the other team to get their 2-minute drive, and then they score and then get the ball. The idea of them doing that and then getting the ball to start the second half.
Huge momentum shift.
It's horrible. Just forget all of that. We're not real good before the end of the half. Although I guess you could say we're improving if last week was the first time we scored points. I'd rather just start the second half of the ball.
Yeah. Hopefully we win the coin toss. But because they'll probably have the same mindset. They'll probably defer too. So I'm with you. I don't want to start with the ball. But John, what's up? What else you want to talk about?
Yeah, one thing we also really improved on was getting stops for like 2-minute warning. Like last year, it was like it almost felt like every time because Patrick Graham ran such a conservative defense. Whereas like remember against Washington last year where McKissick literally got like a 5-yard pass and that's within the 75-yard drive where they got like 2 minutes left, I think it was, and they gave them McKissick and then he got like a big gain, and then like on that same drive they ran like a play where the left side of the offensive line was wide open and they just handed off to Antonio Gibson, just walked in. Like I
remember.
Is it the week 2 game?
Yeah, it was the week 2 game.
I'm impressed that you remember it that clearly because when that game ended, I wanted to eat my remote.
That was a tough one for me.
I actually looked at these stats earlier in the year because I commented how much better we were in that category earlier in the year, like through the first 5 or 6 weeks. I think I know we gave up points in the final 2 minutes of like the first 8 games and of the first half. And I think we gave up like 80 points for the year in the final 2 minutes of the first half.
It was like something ridiculous. It was like 80 to nothing. It was
and
like 80 to nothing.
And it's 6 out of our first 7 games, we gave up a touchdown in the final 2 minutes of the first half. And the other one was a field goal. It was incredible how bad we were in that category last year.
The only thing I'll pick on about this defense is like the adjustment sometimes. Like he gets a little like stubborn, like not like against Dallas, like we have like Nick McLeod out there and he's like on CD Lamb and he's getting cooked in man coverage on like 3rd and long. It's like maybe some zone coverage because like you kind of need to help out the guys that are like they know what they are.
I
They're not
understand where
great
you're
players.
coming. I understand where you're coming from with that. The only thing I'll say, we were on like the 15. So it's like to me, you don't run a lot of zone when you're backed up on your own 15 that often. So I didn't kill him for that.
It was like,
but I get
goal,
what you're
though.
saying.
It was like 3rd and
yeah,
goal.
no, I understand what you're saying there. He has to know some of the limitations with the defense, but it's very hard for me to come down on Wink because he's done such a great job.
I love Wink, but that's even what happened in Baltimore too, where it kind of like led to him getting like resigned because against the Bengals they had like really beat up secondary, and then he had Joe Burrow cooked them for like 500 yards, something ridiculous like that.
Here's where I'm not going to. I get what you're saying, and I agree with you, and I think that that's a point to be made when this is a good team.
Yeah.
Right now, it seems to me that both sides of the ball are
limited.
I don't even know how to phrase this because you always game plan for who you're playing, but it feels like they are just like completely shifting the way they play the game on a game by game basis because of having to overcome deficiencies. I mean, that's kind of an exaggeration, right? But like I've made this point before where the Giants' run defense is horrible. And I don't think that it's horrible, but statistically it's bad. And
I have a theory on this, by the way. I have a theory on the run defense real quick. I want to see what you think. I think the run defense, and we're certainly not good at the linebacker spot. And a lot of our where we get hurt in the run game is these guys attack the wrong gap and it opens up big plays. We saw that a lot earlier in the season in certain games.
Definitely.
But I think the run defense is almost bad by design. I think the Giants each week, depending on the opponent they go up against, no, they don't have a talented enough defense to be strong in both areas.
Yes.
So based off the team they're going up against, they say, okay, I'll give up 150 yards on the ground. I will let them move the ball. I'm just not getting beat over the top in the passing game. And against certain other opponents, they'll have a different strategy. But I think that has a lot to do with why our running stats defensively look the way they do. It's because they open up the opportunity for the opposition to do that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you take the Baltimore Ravens game as an example. The one thing they didn't do is let Lamar Jackson run everywhere. I think they were completely content with letting the running backs run and just being like, you know what? If that's how they beat us, that's how they beat us. How we can't lose is Lamar Jackson running for 70 yards on us. We can't let that happen. And I think Wink is perfectly okay with just being like, just sacrificing a portion of the game to stop the bigger problem. And when he's dealing with the roster that he has and, you know, whatever, Uber Eats for cornerbacks, you kind of, he's just kind of doing what he has to do. And just look, if we were fully healthy, that Dallas game was going to be a struggle in coverage anyway. Right. So for me, I get exactly what you're saying, but you know, if this is a better team, then I think I'll agree with you. But like the corners that he had even available to him were Nick McLeod, Rodarius Williams, and Darnay Holmes. That was it. Because Cordell Flock got hurt halfway through that.
Which is basically equivalent to our wide receiving core on the other side.
Exactly. And when you look at it, we're not really throwing the ball a whole bunch. So we're not holding that against Mike Kafka, right? I don't know.
It's limited. Yeah, he doesn't have big receivers, so I don't really expect.
I don't think that your point is entirely wrong, though. I'm going to hold out on it for this year.
I have no problem with it. I just I thought it was listen.
Maybe
I should adjust it at least once, one of the times.
It's something I expected, though. If I'm being fair, it's like.
Yeah.
When you all Giants fans were excited, as they should be. I think we were all bored with the even though I do think I do think Graham was a better defensive coordinator than some Giants fans gave him credit for because of the limitations on this roster.
Mm-hmm.
But we all wanted a more aggressive defense. So we're all excited about that. But when you have a more aggressive defense, there's going to be a lot of points from within the game where you get aggravated because he's gonna do what he does. And when it works, you're gonna be super thrilled.
I thought it was gonna be worse.
Yeah, I thought that I'm going to be honest with you. I thought the defense was going to be a disaster going into the year.
Me too, man.
When I saw Aaron Robinson starting on the outside and all the overall,
and then he goes down.
He was getting cooked.
I thought this defense because I said to myself, the corner play is so important in this defense. If we can't cover, and I didn't think we were going to be able to cover very good. I thought Adoree Jackson would be worse because now he was suddenly going to be a number one as opposed to a number two. He was going to be going up against better weapons. We didn't know what the hell Allen Robinson was going to be on the outside. He wasn't even drafted to be an outside corner. So going into the year, I was really scared about this defense. So it's very hard for me to come down on the defense. They've definitely exceeded my expectations.
I think they've only allowed 100-yard receiver. I think that was just against CeeDee Lamb. I think that was the first time.
Well, where they're the best, they definitely have holes. Like we said, they get chewed up on the ground game and so on and so forth. But where we've really stood out to me is the third down defense. We still rank, I think, top 5 or 6 in the league in terms of third down conversion against, and the red zone defense. I think we're 5th or 6th in that.
Yeah, they're
category.
very bend don't break team.
So
Once they get down there, they get a stop all the time.
Yeah, that's why our defense has been at least slightly above league average because of those 2 statistical categories. And they have I think this was another incredible stat I saw, by the way, and I posted it on Twitter maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And at the time, the New York Giants had 11 forced fumbles.
Yeah, I think they lead the league.
They were among the league leaders at the time. But that wasn't the crazy part to me. The crazy part to me was it came from 11 different players.
Oh, that is pretty nuts.
To me, that's crazy. Coaching. That's coaching. When you have 11 forced fumbles and it's 11 different players with 1 each, you can't convince me that it's not coaching. That's them teaching their players to do that, to punch the ball out. And to me, that's coaching. That's a great sign.
And 2 of them won 2 games for us, like the Thibodeau one, and then they're you can't tell
me Jackson
McKinney,
McKinney, I think it was.
McKinney, if he doesn't strip ETN, I don't think we win that game. I mean,
yeah.
Because that was huge. Because ETN was going into the end zone. That was just a one last ditch. That's what you learn in rec football when you're behind somebody. You just punch it out. That's literally won us the game.
Yeah, I think you can even make the argument. I don't think that we would have lost the Houston game, but it would have been even closer if Leonard Williams doesn't rip it out. It was inside our own 10. I think.
Yeah, there was 2 straight reds. Did the other one count? There was 2, I think, right?
No, there was the Dane Belton pick. It happened in the end zone, but I don't think that was. I don't remember he threw from.
I think that was the drive where they ruled it incomplete, and then Belton picked it off.
Yes, they ran the exact same play twice.
I can't believe Davis Mills got benched for Kyle Allen. I don't. Is that a tanking thing? Maybe I don't know.
Did you I didn't mean to cut you. Did you post your link, by the way, in the yes, you did. Okay. I want to make sure I share your link to your channel in the chat real quick. I'm sorry.
What were you saying about Kyle Allen?
I can't believe Kyle Allen's their starter. That just blows my mind.
Oh yeah.
That's I don't know why their head coaching decisions. He's probably gonna get fired too. Lovie Smith.
If my mods could post that link throughout the stream too, I'd appreciate it. But John, man, before I let you go, because I got some people waiting, I need your final score.
Well, last time I gave my final score, it didn't really end out too well.
All right, then don't give it to me.
But I'm going to be optimistic and hope we win. So because I remember last time I said we're going to run right through the Seahawks. We had about 40 rushing yards. So
okay,
I'm gonna be optimistic about this game. Hopefully we can win. I think we can, but 50-50. It's a football.
I agree. I do think this is at least a close to 50-50 game. It could definitely go either way, and that's what makes the game so enticing, and I'm so excited about it. It's gonna be a lot of fun watching it tomorrow. But John, man, be good. Enjoy the game, buddy.
All right, see you guys.
Take care, John.
Right. Just gonna read a couple. Go ahead.
I actually have to roll. I have some people coming. I didn't realize.
Do what you gotta do, man.
But you know what? Since John didn't want to give his score, and I understand why. Do you mind if I drop mine?
Yeah, I want you to give me your score.
All right. My score. I actually think we beat the crap out of this team. I think that there was stuff set aside, and I think right from the get-go, I think this is close to start, but I think second half teams comes out, and I think this is a 24-13 win for the Giants. I think the defense really shows up for this game.
Whoa. So you're calling for the Giants' first double-digit victory all year?
Yeah, man. I don't think it's the offense. I think the offense pulls away in the second half, but I think the defense dominates from start to finish. I really think it.
I'm going to give you some variables that we didn't talk about in this game, why I think it's possible something like that happens.
Go ahead, hit me with it.
I think this Washington team, and maybe I'll be proven wrong tomorrow, I think they're running on fumes. This team hasn't hit their bye yet.
That's a good point.
They're playing their 12th straight game, and last week, they should have lost to the Atlanta Falcons at home.
They should have lost that game.
So to me, I could see a team that's a little tired going into this game against a team that's extra rested, that had 4 extra days to prepare. So that's my theory and way. I'm not predicting what you're predicting. I think it'll be a closer game, but I wouldn't be shocked if something like that happened.
I think this stadium's gonna be rocking. I'm gonna put that out there into the universe, and I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna speak it into existence. That's my plan here. But I feel more confident. Like we were saying at the beginning, I feel more confident about this game than I do in 2 weeks playing them again in FedEx Field, or whatever. If they're going to beat Washington by double digits, it's going to be this week, not in 2 weeks, right?
This is the game we got to. I mean, I want to win both,
right?
And we may need to win both, but this is the biggest game on our schedule. This is the must-win game. We have to put a stop to this losing streak, and this is an opportunity to win a game. We got to win this game.
Yeah, 100%.
No doubt about it. But enjoy the rest of your tacos if you didn't finish them or whatever you're about to do. But
I just got some people coming over. It's going to get loud in here, so
no. Do what you got to do, man. We got to link up again. Thank you so much for coming on.
Are you going tomorrow? Are you going to be there?
I was gonna go tomorrow. I don't think I'm gonna go though. I was gonna go, but no, I didn't. I didn't end up going. But I may be going. If I don't, I'm not going this week. I don't think I wanted to go because I know Bobby's doing the tailgate. But I think I'm gonna. If the Giants win, I'm gonna make it there for one of those last games. Whether that be the Eagles game, whether that be the Colts. Right, we play at home.
Mm-hmm.
And is it the Vikings we played? No, the Vikings are on the road, right?
Yeah, I think that's it for us, right? We have no more.
So we got 2 more home games after this?
We have, after this, only 2 more home games.
We've got the Eagles game. No, we got 3.
Wait, hang on. It goes Washington at home, Philly at home, Washington away, Minnesota away.
Oh, so next week's at home? Next week's at home?
Yeah, the 4th and the 11th are at home.
I might have to go to the game next week.
Okay, then I'll see you there.
Yeah, if the Giants win this game, I think I might have to go to that Birds game.
All right, there you go. Then I'll see you there for that one.
All right, man. Enjoy the game, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, dude. Thanks for having me. I always love coming on. So, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks. Well, I'll see you after this win.
All right, man. Thank you for thanking me. Enjoy whatever you got going on over there.
All right, take care, bro.
All right, he's awesome. Love that guy. Let's get to the chat, and then I'm gonna bring in a couple of callers. Will, you're gonna be next. Just gonna answer a couple of these donations. Mr. Smith says hotel, motel, Galladay Inn. You know what? I hope you're right, Mr. Smith. I am not banking on that. Galladay fooled me once. Shame on you. Galladay fooled you twice. Shame on me. Galladay fooled you 3 times. Shame on me. Galladay fooled you 4 times. Chris, you're a moron. Galladay fooled you 5 times. Chris, you're a jackass. He's not fooling me a 6th time. So hopefully you're right, but I'm not buying into it. RCB, man, thank you very much, man. Cosme starting at right guard. So there you go. I think he said earlier he was starting at maybe left guard. He said he was starting at a guard. Maybe he said the wrong one. But yeah, hopefully we could take advantage of him. Big Daddy says no talent. The coaches are doing amazing. I think there's some talent on this team, but we have a ton of limitations. Well, I agree there. I do think the offensive line is trending down the right path, but it's still not a good line. I think by next year, the line is going to be at least league average, though. I really believe that. I think Evan Neal is going to grow a lot more. And Nick Gates, who was a guy we didn't talk about throughout the pod, I think is hopefully, last week he played great. And hopefully he can stay healthy. But I think Nick Gates could be a big part of the future with this team. It could be a big X factor for that line going forward. So I definitely think the line is trending down the right path, but we're still well below league average. I think our pass rush is going to be very good next year. I think Kayvon will only mature and get better. But obviously, there's still a lot of holes on this team. I think there's some talent, but we need a lot more of it. Henry, man, thank you very much, man. I'm a DJ believer, but if he loses tomorrow, he is not the guy. You cannot lose. This is it, like a playoff game, but we can't forget DJ owns Washington 5 TD game. I don't know. I think no matter what happens for the rest of the year, me personally, I'm going to probably feel I want Jones back for another year at least as we continue to build the team. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. But obviously, if he wins tomorrow, that goes a long way towards him coming back in 2023 as the New York Giants quarterback. If you're Jones, you want to, I mean, let's be real. I mean, it just means you're winning games. So every player should want this. But if you're Jones, you want the Giants to have as late of a draft pick as possible because that makes it less likely they're going to take a quarterback, which means we better win tomorrow. So, if Jones wants to try to assure the best that he can, when you look at the rest of our schedule, this is one of the more winnable games on the schedule. And if we lose this, you could be looking at a 4-game losing streak before we play Washington again. So we got to stop the bleeding. And this is definitely a monster game for Daniel Jones. It's definitely a monster game for Saquon Barkley. There's no hiding it. Irish, man, he says, I am very disappointed that Gates has been moved to the tackle. He's the best center we have and the toughest man in the O-line. He got moved to the tackle? Evan Neal's starting tomorrow. Did I not hear something? Is somebody Somebody in the chat, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm almost positive. I'm almost positive Evan Neal's starting tomorrow at the tackle. It's Andrew Thomas and maybe you meant the guard. He's playing at the guard tomorrow. I think that's what you meant. Yeah, he's playing at the guard tomorrow. And I would have preferred he stayed at the center. They're bringing Feliciano back at the center, but he's not playing at the tackle. He's playing at the guard. But I don't like, I would have preferred him stay at the center as well. I'm not a big Feliciano guy at all. And Gates looked like he was playing well, but hopefully they'll be all right tomorrow. But yeah, he's playing at the guard. He's not playing at the tackle. I'm not going to say it's a horrible move. I actually think Gates' best natural position is the guard, but I think Feliciano sucks. So, but to be fair, all of our guards suck too. So we just have an interior line problem. So I'm going to trust Bobby Johnson. I'm going to trust the coaching staff that they feel that Nick Gates best helps this team right now at the guard spot. And Feliciano's a better option than whoever would be playing the guard if Nick Gates was playing the center. We're going to have a problem no matter what on the interior. But yeah, he's playing the guard spot. But Irish, man, thank you very much, man. Yeah, I didn't think he was playing the tackle. Let me just make sure. Josiah says we need 2 good middle linebackers. We always neglect that position year after year. I'm tired of it. I'm still hoping for Darian Beavers. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we don't know. Like, Beavers to me is just a complete unknown going into next year because of the injury. You don't know if he's going to be the same player coming off of it. He looked really good in training camp. I definitely think he was going to be the starter based off the amount of reps he was getting, based off the way that he looked. And I do think he fit the defense very well. So hopefully he is one of the answers next year at the middle linebacker spot. But I'm in complete agreement with you, Josiah. And I don't know if they're going to draft one in the first round. I don't know if they're going to sign one in free agency, but that's definitely a position that needs to be addressed, right? We thought we had Blake Martinez was going to be the answer there for at least a couple more years. After the first year he had with the Giants, he suffered the injury. Wasn't the same player after the fact. And even I don't think would be a very good fit for this defense, which was why I think a major reason why he wasn't back to begin with. But yeah, I definitely think we need to address the middle linebacker position. I'm not saying it's got to be first round. First round, to me, I don't even want to pigeonhole myself to say a position we need to take in the first round because we have so many needs. I've said that I think wide receiver is definitely the primary need for me if I'm the GM going into next year, simply because it's not even just for Daniel Jones specifically. It's for the quarterback position specifically. Even if Jones is not the long-term answer, you need to start getting some weapons on this offense and, to see what this offense could ultimately be. So that's why I think wide receiver is my biggest need going into next year, along with obviously the interior offensive line, along with the linebacker, along with the cornerback. There's a lot of needs on this team, but for me, you're going to end up taking BPA. Now, if there's a wide receiver, if I identify that being my biggest need, that's at least close to the number one guy on my board, I'd probably go wide receiver in the first round next year right now, just because it's such a pressing need. You look at the wide receiver room next year, it's possible the only guy that's back is Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, Darius Slayton's a free agent. We have a ton of free agents. And the wide receiver market is very thin. So Darius Slayton may get a higher contract than a lot of fans realize because of how thin the wide receiver market is. Right now, Juju Smith-Schuster is the best free agent wide receiver in next year's class. It's entirely possible there could be a team willing to give Darius Slayton a pretty hefty contract, and the New York Giants may not be able to afford it. So even if he is back, there's so many holes on that wide receiving core. So we'll see what they ultimately do. But linebacker is definitely one of the needs they need to address next year, whether it be in the draft or free agency. And we got time, says, how long are you streaming for tonight and got any open slots to come up? What do you mean slots? I posted the link in the chat if you want to try to come on. I'll probably go live for at least another 45 minutes and we got time. So yeah, if the link's in the chat if you want to try to come on. I only got 3 people waiting in the background, so you should be able to get on. But maybe you popped on after I dropped the link earlier. Benjamin, and I'm going to get the next guy on now. And I'll read Benjamin's as I bring Will on. Just a second, Will. In your honest opinion, what's more likely to happen? First, the Rams rebuild within a 3-year period and makes it back to a Super Bowl. Or KP finally kisses a girl. Well, definitely the Rams. KP, I mean, come on. No, I'm just messing with KP. Yeah, I mean, listen, if McVay stays with the Rams, I think, and I'm not even going to read the rest of that. Oh, Dak Vids because he's sponsored by the Dildo Company. I think that if McVay stays with the Rams, they'll turn that over real quick because he's such a good coach. Now, if McVay leaves, you guys could be in a world of hurt. We'll see. But I definitely think you guys need to go through a transition phase. I don't think you're going to be able to just rebound next year and be a really good team. It's possible maybe you could be a 10-win team next year if you bring everybody back and they stay healthy. But it's probably not the best course of action. I think you guys should start the rebuild next year, but we'll see if that's what you ultimately end up doing. Will, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy.
How you doing, man?
Good to see you, man. Or good to hear you, man.
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good.
What is that? What's the picture there?
It's Kobe.
Oh, it is Kobe. It's just small on my screen. Yes. Okay. Cool.
Kobe, man. I'm very excited for tomorrow. You are?
Oh, dude. Of course, I'm really excited. How could you not? How long you been watching the Giants, Will?
All my life, man.
So how many years?
Sure. I mean, I'm 29, so sure.
So a long time.
Yeah, long time.
This is the biggest game in a long time for this team.
Yes, it is.
Like
yeah.
I'm so amped up for this game, man. So amped up.
Let me ask you: Are you worried about like Washington's like pass rush and defense? Because I think our interior line is. It's not good.
One of their biggest strengths on their team is their interior defensive line.
Yeah,
which is one of our biggest weaknesses. So it's going to come down to play calling because that's definitely a worry of mine. Just like it was a big worry of mine going into the Tennessee game. Same thing.
Is Chase Young playing tomorrow or no?
I don't think so. Maybe somebody in the chat could let me know, but it seemed like it was trending towards he wasn't going to play. And if he is going to play, which I don't think he's going to, it sounded like it would be a very limited snap count, but I don't think he's playing.
I mean, even without him, they still got Montez Sweat, so they're still very good on the line in general.
Yeah, they're saying he's not playing.
Even without him, they're still good, and they're still getting a lot of pressure, and I'm kind of worried about that because I don't want to see DJ running for his life, because I feel like that's like a common thing from time to time. So, what do you think is going to be like the game plan to win? You think we're just going to run, or you think we're going to try to go like underneath and stuff? Because we don't really go over the top.
I'm not saying we're going to run whatever amount of times it was against the Texans and only throw 17 times, but that's what our team is. And I think it has very little to do with Daniel Jones. I know a lot of people say that, but I think it has to do with the overall roster. Like,
yeah.
The Giants don't trust their offensive line to be able to pass protect when they throw the ball 30 times. They don't trust their wide receivers to catch the ball and get open. So I just think there's so many limitations on this roster that you have to play to the strength of your football team. So I'm not saying we're not going to throw. There's going to be times in this game where Jones is going to have to convert big third downs. But yeah, I think that's where the game plan always starts with the Giants. The thing that I think needs to be more involved, though, is what I said to the Grump earlier. Daniel Jones' legs have to be a factor tomorrow.
Yeah, have to be more read options. They have to let him pull the ball and run. Like they did it before. I don't know. They didn't do it against the Cowboys. It didn't seem like, right?
I feel like the last couple of weeks they haven't used his legs as much as I would like.
They need to. You got to keep the defense on their heels because obviously most teams are going to collapse on Barkley. You have to because he's the only real offensive threat out there. So that's when I feel like DJ could pull the ball and because I feel like there are holes for him to run. He just doesn't do it. He just gives it to Barkley still. Yeah,
I agree. But I think tomorrow you're going to see it. I really do. I think you're going to see Jones involved a lot more in the run game tomorrow. I'm actually very confident in that. I think you're going to see him used a lot more in the run game.
So what's your expectation for Aziz? Because he's supposed to be coming back too tomorrow for the RG.
It's hard for me to say because obviously he hasn't played in a very long time. So I don't know what kind of football shape he's in. So it's very hard for me to say. What I will say is in the one game that we saw Aziz, he looked very good.
Yeah.
He had a sack in that game. He had a couple of other pressures, I feel like. I remember watching that game, at least in the first half, and thought he was pretty impressive. So
I think
it's hard to say, though, because he hasn't played in so long.
Yeah, I think I saw some stat where they said it would be the first time all four of our main defensive linemen together.
Yeah, which is insane.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So what do you think is going to be like Washington's like biggest advantage against us? Running the ball or throwing it? I mean, obviously, I think it would be attacking the secondary because our secondary is pretty, weak. Not having Adoree Jackson back there or Aaron Robertson and not having McKinney. And I do think there's areas for them to feast on that because Dallas feasts on us on Thanksgiving through the air.
Yeah, listen, we got holes all over the roster.
Oh, yeah.
So like, I worry about a lot of things in this game. I worry about one big thing I worry about in this game is the edge in terms of the run. I think we've gotten killed off the edge all year. Like a lot of people are going to say Brian Robinson, and rightfully so. He looked really good last week, but I worry more about the edge when it comes to the run game. The one thing I will say, at least they don't have a quarterback that they could really use kind of the way that we do. Heineke's not really, fleet of foot, and it looks like Gibson's probably not going to play. I was actually more worried about him because Robinson's not really a guy that's going to turn the edge and at breaking big plays, kind of more of a guy that's going to wear down your defense. So I worry about that, though, because that's been a big weakness of ours.
Getting attacked in the middle. Yeah.
And then the passing game, of course. I mean, with all the limitations in our secondary, but it's going to come down to getting them in obvious passing down situations. And if we could do that, I think Wink is smart enough to come up with a defensive scheme and game plan and blitz in a certain way that it could confuse Heineke enough to create some turnover opportunities.
Yeah. See, y'all, I was listening to y'all before. Y'all was talking about the Ravens and how he was successful on the Ravens. Wink was successful on the Ravens.
He knows Lamar.
Yeah. That too. But his defense was successful on the Ravens because he had two good man corners with Marlon Humphreys and Marcus Peters. So that's why he was able to blitz so successfully.
Yep. Good point.
Good press corners, and the pass rush will get there by the time the quarterback look up to try to throw the ball. With us, it's like our pass rush doesn't get there. We get picked apart, particularly in the middle of the field or sometimes over the top. But it mostly hasn't been over the top. It mostly been like intermediate short stuff. But when
you're right, though, that's a good point you bring up because we haven't been beaten. I feel like we haven't been beaten by many big plays over the top this year. Now that I'm thinking, but I think it's by design. I think the New York. That's why we give up a lot of big chunk plays in the ground because the Giants overcommit to not allow plays like that because they know the vulnerabilities of the secondary. But we haven't been torched in terms of huge plays over the top this year in terms of the pass defense.
I am kind of worried about that with our upcoming matchups. Like Washington, like Terry McLaurin could get over the top.
Oh, for sure. You saw him do it against the Eagles.
Yeah. And Philly is the same way next week. It would be the same thing with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins. Like, that's an issue. You know what I mean? Like, we got
that's the best receiving core we're going to play all year next week.
Yeah. It's and you know our struggles against tight ends. Like, we can't stop tight ends. What's the deal with Landon Collins? How come he hasn't been like activated or nothing?
I don't think he's the same Landon Collins. I mean, obviously, I think that has a lot to do with it, right? Because he wasn't even on anybody's practice squad. The New York Giants were able to pick him up off the scrap heap, and so it's not the same Landon Collins. I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it, and he's also a guy that got kind of thrusted into this in the middle of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So he may not. They even said, I think, when they signed him, it was going to take him 2 or 3 weeks just to learn the defense before they even felt comfortable having him out there at all. And I think the plan with him probably from the beginning was to bring him in for depth. And if somebody goes down with an injury, he'll get a more expanded role. But they've called him up twice. He's gotten, limited time. But I just don't think he's much of a difference maker at this point in time for the Giants. Maybe he's a guy that you could use in selective packages. But I don't think he's a guy that they ever envisioned being, like an every down player for this defense.
Yeah, and you're right about that. And I also noticed, too, that when Wink is aggressive on defense, most of the opposition, we've been burned pretty recently with like screen passes from the opposition. I feel like that's a kind of a thing too that we need to start monitoring because Eagles run a lot of screens too.
Oh yeah, big time. And Hurts and the Eagles are going to be a tough matchup. Like I'm not even going to lie to you, man. Like that. That's why this game is so big.
Yeah.
Like, that's why this game is a must-win because you'd be a fool to expect us to beat the Eagles. Anything can happen on any given Sunday. But with all the limitations on our roster, with all the injuries.
Washington beat them. So, it
can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but this is the game we got to win.
Yeah. One game at a time. Washington, we're similar in a way. Now, if it has to come to a duel between Taylor Heineke versus DJ, I'm assuming DJ wins because DJ is more clutcher.
I don't think either team is going to play to get in a duel, though. It's not in the best interest of either football team. No. I think with Washington, it's more to do with their quarterback than the Giants because Washington actually has weapons.
Yeah.
But the Giants don't. But I think Washington realizes that he's not a very good quarterback. It's not in their best interest to throw the ball a whole lot. So I don't think either team wants to get into a shootout in this football game.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. And I just worry about the middle of our defense because I feel like every week we get attacked in the middle of the field. And like I was talking about before, our linebacking core is pretty weak. Like, they're decent, like Jalen Smith and them, they're decent against the run sometimes, but in the air, when the ball's in the air and covering tight ends or wide receiver coming across the middle, people are wide open. Yeah. I feel like like
You
that.
think we're gonna win tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we're gonna win. We got no choice but to win.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Give me a final.
I think 27, maybe 24. We win by a field goal.
Okay.
Come on,
I could roll with that.
PP.
It's gonna be tough to put up points on this team because I think Washington hasn't given up more than 20 in like 8 weeks. Somebody told me on Twitter. I was like, wow. But they also don't score a whole lot. I'm going to say 26, though. Like the Grump said, and I'm saying 26 because of Barkley, by the way. But like the Grump said, I don't know. And maybe it's just blind hope and optimism. I think we're going to have a good performance tomorrow. I really do. For a lot of the factors that I've said throughout the stream. So I don't know if we'll reach 26, 27 points, but I think we'll look pretty good tomorrow. The offense, I think we'll be able to hit the 20s.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be probably it's probably gonna be mostly a defensive game, which I'm expecting. Hopefully, it's not a lot of turnovers. Well, hopefully they turn the ball over in our favor, but it's probably just gonna be a lot of running and short passes, probably nothing deep. And like I said, the only thing I hope for the most is just not to get beat by Terry McLaurin because that is very possible.
That's the thing you worry about the most, and I'm going to keep putting up Curtis Samuel as a guy I worry about too in the run game. Obviously in the pass game too, but he's a guy they like to use with jet sweeps, and we know that we're vulnerable off the edge. So I could see them having a couple of big plays with that too. So we'll see, but it's not going to be easy tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. It's not going to be easy, and I see somebody in the chat say Giants fans talk about no weapons. I'm assuming he's a Washington fan, and they expect them to put up 26, 27. Well, the reason I'm expecting, I think we could put up maybe 26 a little high, maybe 23, 24. Yeah. I think the defense is going to create extra possessions. I think Heineke's going to turn the football over.
Well, yeah,
that's why I think we could reach the 20s more so than anything else.
Well, yeah, because he's turnover prone too. It's not like he doesn't turn the ball over, because you blitz him like any other quarterback, they're gonna turn the ball over. It's just I don't know, man. I just worry about getting attacked in the middle and stuff, and just I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because, like I said, their pass rush is very good, and our interior line. I'm not worried about Thomas, and I'm not worried about Neal, but I don't know how Neal's gonna look coming back from injury, so I'm worried about that too. But it's the interior of the line that's gonna be the problem because
that's always the problem for us. Always, but especially going up against a team like Washington who has a strong interior defensive line. Bellinger, that to me could be the X factor in this game. Bellinger and Evan Neal coming back. Huge in the run blocking department, right? So I'm excited. I really am, and I hope you enjoy the game. I have a lot more people that called in, so I'm going to get to them.
Okay, I'm not going to, but it's a pleasure talking to you. I watch you and Bad Dog all the time, and because I'll be commenting sometimes. I'll be sending them my chats and stuff. So
we're gonna get this. We're gonna get this game. We're gonna get this game tomorrow, man. And hopefully you have a good time in the stream and watch, and hopefully the New York Giants come out with a W, man.
Come on, man. It's about Victory Mondays. You already know.
Let's go. All right. All right, man. Thanks for calling in, Will.
All right. Take care.
Be good, man. Let me get to V-Man. He says, hey, Chris, you think Belichick is cooked as a head coach / GM? By the way, did you see the Pats use the Diaz trumpet song on the I didn't. Actually, no. Now that you mention it, yeah, I heard about it. I didn't see it, but I heard about it on Twitter that they used the Diaz trumpet song, which a lot of players are starting to. I think some players in baseball started using it too. Actually, Diaz wasn't the first player to use that. There was another closer like years ago that did it. I can't remember who it was, but obviously Diaz made it a lot more popular. But yeah, I didn't hear about that. As far as Belichick goes, I don't know if Belichick is cooked. I just don't think he has. Obviously, Brady meant a lot to him, right? Losing Tom Brady and everything else. And I just don't think the Patriots have the talent to be a very good team. Mac Jones, to me, is a bad quarterback. I hated that pick when the New England Patriots made it. I was shocked that the San Francisco 49ers, by reports, were contemplating taking him when they traded up to 3rd overall. I was never a fan of Mac Jones. I think he's an incredibly limited quarterback. And I know he got into it with the coaching staff this past week, and we'll see. But I think Belichick's definitely on the way out. I know a lot of people point to their poor drafting. I've always looked at it like this. They were always picking 32. It's a lot easier to draft when you pick at 5 than 32. And the Patriots did get a lot out of, later draft picks and guys they picked up that were kind of castaways from other teams. But obviously losing Brady hurt Belichick a lot, obviously, when you don't have the quarterback. So I still think he's maybe the greatest, not maybe, is the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. He cheated, but he's still an incredible coach. But he's on his way out. He's going to retire soon. But V-Man, thank you very much, man. Let's get Triple Crown in, man. What's going on, buddy? You're muted.
My man.
No, that's good. That's okay. Is that a Met hat?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
I know
sir.
I like this guy. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Yesterday was a sad day, man.
Oh, as far as Jacob deGrom goes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely sad, but I understood it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Mets fans on Twitter, like one guy on Twitter, like yelled at me. He's like, Chris, how are you not screaming? Like, how you? No, it makes sense. Like the Texas Rangers offered a guy that has, what does he have? Like, 20 starts in like the last 3 years or whatever it's been.
Something like that.
A 5-year contract. Like it was as much as it pains me to say it, because the thing that sucks for the Mets, since in their history, they've only had one great player start as a Met and finish as a Met and play for nobody else in between. And that's David Wright. And I think a lot of Mets fans looked at Jacob deGrom as was going to be the second guy. And it's unfortunate. I'll always remember the great times, and I'm sure he's going to have his number retired as a Met, 8-9 years in the future or whatever. And I wish him nothing but the best in Texas. It also takes two to tango, right? And reports were that he didn't make much of an effort to come back with the Mets. So we'll move up. We'll move past it. And Cohen's gonna spend some money. He'll bring in some nice pieces for the Mets.
Yeah, I definitely had a pretty reactionary experience when it first happened. But yeah, once I cooled down, definitely had the same thought process.
But you ready for the game tomorrow? That's the more.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I'm so excited. Ever since, and we had a shot at the Cowboys until everything fell apart. And with that fake penalty on the touchdown by Hodgins.
Yeah, listen, the Giants had a shot last week. As crazy as that may sound when you look at how dominated we got at the end, a week and a half ago. If they convert that 4th and 1, it's a completely different game.
Yep, completely different ball game. And actually, as crazy as it might sound, I think we might have a shot at the Eagles just because with Bellinger coming back.
I hope you're right.
I know.
I can't even think about the Eagles. Like, this game is just too big.
I know.
This game is too big.
I'm happy Bellinger's back. I'm really excited for that.
Oh, dude. Let's go. I love Bellinger. Bellinger has been, at least as up to this point, our best draft pick. It's not even a debate in terms of value. Like he's been so good. Year one, he's meant so much to this football team, and hopefully he develops into like at least maybe a poor man's George Kittle. But he's been a super valuable pick. I think he's the best rookie tight end in the NFL this year. He's been really good.
Yeah, that, and I mean he's one of the only rookies that have stayed healthy for us this year.
Well,
all of them have gotten hurt. Yeah,
he's gotten hurt too.
All of them have gotten hurt. Right.
The only one, McFadden, I think, is the only rookie who hasn't been hurt.
Damn. That's crazy.
Yeah. But what's your thought process on the game?
I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be more than 2 score. I think that'll be the largest margin. My prediction's 24-17, but I think if we can control the trenches and have a win the turnover battle, I think it's pretty good shot. We got the game in the bag if we can do those 2 things.
I mean, listen, it's easier said than done. It's the same game plan every week with this team. We know what the New York Giants are, and but especially a game like this, because the Washington, like I've said, is kind of like a spitting image of us. It's going to come down to the team. Washington is not like Dallas last week, in my opinion. Like Dallas is able to overcome mistakes. Dallas had 2 turnovers, really 3, because they turned it over on their own 40 when they went for it on 4th down. Washington can't, just like us. Washington can't overcome that. If the Giants could create turnovers against Washington and they are safe with the football, they will win this football game. That's what the game. And Washington's thinking the same thing. It's going to be the team that is able to create more opportunities in extra possessions, create more turnovers. And to do that, you have to put the opposing quarterback in the situation to create turnovers, which means the New York Giants have to stop the run. That's where it has to start. And then they have to get after Heineke and force him to make some bad decisions.
Yep. And hopefully we get a little bit of a coaching advantage too with Brian Dable.
I can't wait. Yeah, I think that's a major advantage in this game because I personally don't think Ron Rivera is a good coach. I used to think he was. He's an okay coach.
Yeah, I think.
But I used to think much higher of Rivera than I do now. His first 3 years or so with Washington, but I think we got the better coach, and we had 4 extra days to game plan for it than they did. So I definitely think we have the coaching advantage going into this game, and if we win it, it's going to be because of that.
Yeah, and this game sets us up for the rest of the season too, because if we get this game, we have another game against Washington. Obviously, it's easier said than done. But then we have another game against the Colts later in the year, and those are the 2 most winnable games we got in the schedule. So if we can take care of this, we got one more to go, and then hopefully with that, we can secure a spot in the playoffs finally.
Oh, dude, playoff? Can you imagine? Oh my God.
After last year, I don't know, man.
But so you said 24-17. I'm gonna let you go because I got like 5 more people waiting. And
Yeah,
I want to get everybody on. But enjoy the game tomorrow. Thank you for all the support. I always see you on Twitter. And thank you for all the support with the channel. Be good. Enjoy the game.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you.
Let's get this win tomorrow. Just gonna talk to the chat real quick. Entertain. Anyway, this is a trap game with Philly next week. No, there's no way. No. There's a playoff game for the Giants. If they lose this game, in terms of the playoffs, at least, I'm not saying it's over. It's not mathematically over. But no, the Giants have to win this game if they're going to make the playoffs. Like, this game is more important to the Giants than it is Washington, because Washington has they have the next game at home, and they have the bye to prepare for it. This is there's no way the Giants are looking past this game. This is the trap game for me, and what I worried about, and I think ultimately it was a trap game for the Giants, was the Lions game. And I had that game circled on my calendar before the year started as a game that I could envision being a trap game, simply because we played the Dallas Cowboys 4 days later on Thanksgiving. And I always worried that could be a team that we overlooked a bit. And I feel like we did in that game. I'm not saying that's why we lost it, but that was a game I was concerned was a trap game. This game is not. There's no way there's a trap game. This is a playoff game. And the Giants are going to come out ready, and they're going to give it everything they got. John, man, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping the stream, man. What's going on, Nova? Winning in Washington is going to be I'm not going to say damn near impossible, but it's going to be tough because of all the factors I just said. But we could beat them, Nova. Like, let me ask you, be honest, Nova. And I know Washington's playing better right now, and I know they have the bye and they have the extra week to prepare. But if I would have told you what's going to be a harder game week 3 or week 5 or 6, whenever we played them, Baltimore coming back from London. Like, you want to talk about not having proper rest. There's a reason they give teams the option to have the bye after they play in London. After we play the Green Bay Packers, beating the Ravens or beating Washington when they have an extra week to prepare against us, we can beat Washington in Washington. It's just not likely. I would pick Washington, but I don't view that as a game we can't win. I think we can. The Eagles, because of the way we match up, I definitely view as a game that's going to be very hard to win. And Minnesota, I actually think we have a shot against Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota is very good. I don't think they're as good as their record. I would pick Minnesota, but I think we have a chance against them. But let's get to DJ. What's going on, DJ, man? Thanks for popping the stream, man.
My God, Tana, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? Good to see you, buddy.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, man, I hear you.
What's going on, my God, man? Yo, man, let's get this win tomorrow, man.
You ready?
Yeah, super ready, man. The biggest game of Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley's career is this game. Yo, here's my thoughts, right? You got to run the ball, man. This team is feeds over Saquon Barkley. Success, man. Offensive line, my man Neil is back, man. So I expect him to open some holes. I expect Daniel Bellinger, catch some balls, the visor on, hopefully.
He better have not hopefully. He better have the visor on.
He better the visor on, man. You know what I'm saying, man? Daniel Jones got to be a elite game manager. That's what I'm calling him. A elite game manager, be efficient with the ball.
See, this is a term that I can't stand. When I'm gonna let you keep going, DJ, but I just want to say something. This is a term I can't stand when people use the term game manager in a derogatory way. Tom Brady was a game manager for a large portion of his career, right? Like, in terms of, if you want to use the term game manager, right? He didn't really explode statistically until he got Randy Moss and blah, 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 blah. I hate the term game manager. That's the most important thing for a quarterback, is to manage the game.
Here's the deal, right?
And with this roster,
go ahead.
I don't care who the quarterback is outside of Pat Mahomes.
Josh Allen.
They're going to be a game manager. We have a game manager roster. They're throwing to Walmart workers at the wide receiver spot, and we can't block. You got to be a game manager.
Yo, listen, I think guys are open downfield. That's me personally. I'm not going to give him, most of the, what I'm saying, he don't got the guys. He don't got the guys, Chris, but at the end of the day, them guys are open. He has to feed them. He's still delayed on some things. You know what I'm saying, man? Like he still has some work to get done, man. But here's how I feel though, man. Defense got to rush the passer, get behind again. You know what I mean? Kayvon Thibodeau, I need sacks. Azeez Ojulari, I need sacks. Like I need sacks. You know, Fabian Monroe gotta bottle up McLaurin. That's the key too. Gotta turn over the ball on day end. And then yeah, man, play a clean game, run the ball, play action passes. The guy Daniel Jones is very, 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 very efficient when the running game gets.
And he's a part of that running game.
That's when he's best. That's when he's at his best.
Yeah.
When Saquon and him are running the ball together, it opens up the passing game. Because now it makes them as a decoy, man. But yeah, man. But listen, man. At the end of the day, I do think we are gonna win this game tomorrow.
Yes.
The biggest game in his career. I got 24-17 Giants. And listen, man. I just feel like back is against the wall. He gotta have it. 6 games left. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you how I feel probably tomorrow when you have the little Twitter morning thing, stuff like that. About the season. But right now, man, 24-17 Giants, man. 24-17 Giants.
I like your positivity. We're gonna get this win tomorrow.
Gotta need it, man.
You get me pumped up, man. You get me pumped up.
Yeah, I have a question though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was watching your show, right? And it was a comment from a dude, and you said Kenny Pickett is trash.
Yeah.
Right. That came out of your mouth, right? Okay. I'm gonna ask you a question, right? Did Mike Tomlin made a mistake for drafting Kenny Pickett in the first round?
Yes.
Wow. So you telling me that they missing that pick?
I mean, I can't say that for certain. Listen.
Do you think Kenny Pickett can develop into a solid quarterback?
Yes.
If the Steelers give him the pieces that he needs to be successful and the right coordinator.
There's nothing about Kenny Pickett
to you.
He could become a decent quarterback. And listen, if there's any team that's going to turn him into a decent quarterback, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers because they know how to build a football. Tomlin's a great coach. They're still building, right? The offensive line's not very good.
The GM, yeah.
So if they build, he might be a pretty good quarterback. But Kenny Pickett to me he's older too. I think he's like 25. He was never a guy with much of a ceiling. I didn't think that there was any quarterback that being warranted drafted in the first round last year, including Kenny Pickett, including Malik Willis, that entire quarterback crop. So yes, I think it was a bad pick. I think the Steelers should have waited a year to draft a quarterback. And I bet you they wish they probably did when you look at this year's quarterback class and you see that they're going to be picking at the top of it now. I think C.J. Stroud's a much better quarterback. I think Young's a much better quarterback. So, I didn't like the pick.
You think they did a Dave Gettleman move with driving a quarterback the past year?
I mean, listen, it's not. It was late in the first round, so it's not as detrimental as taking a quarterback in the top
like Daniel
5.
Jones pick.
Well, Daniel, I'm not off Jones yet, but it's not as risky to take a quarterback at 20 whatever as it is to take a quarterback at 6.
Good. I have a question for you, right? So you saying that you believe in Daniel Jones, right? You think?
Well, what's your definition of believe?
Okay.
Do I believe that Daniel Jones right now today is a franchise quarterback? No. But I also believe we don't know if he can be or not. That's my belief of Daniel Jones.
Chris, let me explain to you real quick, right, about this topic, because this topic gets people on Twitter flaming hot right now, right?
That's why I don't like going on Twitter.
He's the topic of this fan base right now. Every day. Listen, check this, right? It's been 4 years, right? He still does not know how to look downfield. He still does not know how to move in and out the pocket. He still does not know how to get out the pocket, make those on the run. All those special traits, guys, that the guys have, he doesn't have that. Okay? We need to move on from this kid at the end of the year. Okay? We need to move on try to get a guy like an Anthony Richardson, a Bryce Young, or Will Levis. We need to go get a guy that had special traits, special abilities to carry a team on his back. That's what we need. And we need a guy that Dable could develop in the season and make him into a top 3 quarterback. We know what Jones is. He will never be a top 5 quarterback. They need to go find their Josh Allen like they did 4 years ago.
DJ, I love you, buddy. And I'm gonna talk more about this. I'm gonna get to the next guest though.
I got you tomorrow.
I will talk to you tomorrow. I'm gonna pull an Apollo. I'm gonna yank you right off the stage right now, and then I'm gonna talk more about what you just said about Daniel Jones. But be good, man. Be good, man. Please. I will talk more about it. All right, be good, DJ. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game. But okay, Daniel Jones. He talked about how Daniel Jones doesn't look down the field or whatever he said. All the limit. Do people not realize that when you have no time to throw the football, you don't have time to look down the field? And when he does have enough time to throw the football, like I said earlier in the stream, we have to have 7 blockers because the offensive line is limited. So you don't have 4 wide receivers going out on routes. You have 2, and you have 2 guys that would be backups anywhere else. Half of them wouldn't even be on rosters in the league. So you're asking a guy with the worst wide receiving core in the NFL. By the way, in his 3rd offense, in his fourth year in the league, he's in his 3rd offense with the worst wide receivers in the NFL. That's why I don't know what he could be, because he hasn't had anything. The guy's driving a car from the Flintstones. He's got to pedal it with his feet. And you want to put a quarterback into that situation? What the hell do you think Anthony Richardson would do on this team? And by the way, these people that want to trade up to take Anthony Richardson, they want to also get rid of Saquon Barkley. So we're going to take a project quarterback on this team, let Saquon Barkley go, and trade up and give up future draft capital and give him what? You're going to throw him out there with David Sills? You're going to throw him out there with God knows who at running back? Like, did we not learn? Like, we failed Daniel Jones. You want to fail the next guy? Improve the roster. We're not at a point in time to start giving up draft capital and move up and get a quarterback, because then that guy's going to fail. And Bobby, man, thank you very much. He says, "Hi, Chris. Can I come on tonight?" Yeah, I'm going to give you the link right there, man. I'm going to give you the link right there, and then you come on. But that's just my opinion. I get passionate when I talk about it. I appreciate DJ. There's the link. Let's get Backyard on the chat, man. What's up, Backyard?
What's up?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. So I'm happy that you brought up the DJ topic, because it's a topic that I'm very passionate about. I get very, very annoyed. So for me, I live in Dallas, so I hear a lot of it about Daniel Jones, this, Daniel Jones, that. And I just don't get, what he's supposed to do. There's no weapons around him. He doesn't have a good offensive line. Well, he has an average offensive line this year. He's been in multiple systems so far. He's basically, playing his first year in the system, right? So what I don't get is why people are saying he shouldn't have any excuses. Because I think that he has played for 4 years, but he should have excuses, Like the Giants, I think they should.
I don't even want to use the term excuses, because that's what I hear. Oh, you're giving him excuses. It's not excuses. Yeah. It's just facts. I'm giving you facts. Quarterbacks in the NFL can, yes, if you're Pat Mahomes, good luck finding a Pat Mahomes. If you're Pat Mahomes, can you overcome limitations on a roster? Probably not these limitations. Probably not as good as Pat Mahomes even is. He's probably not looking incredible on this team, but. Yes, is it possible? Sure. But there is not a quarterback that's going to come onto this roster and look great, especially with the way he's been handled. Listen, if they move off Jones, they move off Jones. I'm going to support it if they trade up and get a quarterback.
No.
But that guy's going to struggle, and people need to realize that. This team is not good.
Yeah, because
this overall supporting cast is not good.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is He said CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, right? These guys are playing with first round talent receivers right now. They're not going to have that when they come to the Giants. They're going to come here and they're going to play with arguably worse receivers than they're playing with in college right now. So, like, I just don't see. I think we need to like build the team up and then just put a quarterback in there, you know? Like then we can get a quarterback. He won't have to be Patrick Mahomes. Then you can get a decent quarterback and put him in, you know,
Listen, man,
play like
that's
an
the way
elite
I
wide
envision
receiver.
it. I think a lot of people, it's more so I'm defending the building of a team properly. Unless listen, if you are enamored with a quarterback, you always do it. Like,
Yeah.
like if Joe Shane is enamored with Will Levis or Anthony Richardson and he feels like he could trade up and get him, do it. And that's going to be my expectation if they do that. If they trade up and get Will Levis or name the quarterback in next year's draft, I'm not saying right away, but there's going to come within 3 years, I'm going to expect that quarterback to be on a Pat Mahomes level. I'm not
Yeah.
saying Pat Mahomes, but in that top 5, 6 level. If you're going to ignore all the other rosters on this team, all the other holes on this team, and give up premium draft capital to go up and get that quarterback, and it's really not fair to that quarterback because he doesn't have the pieces, and it's gonna take multiple years, especially if you give up draft capital to go up and get the quarterback.
Yeah,
But if they
because
go that route, I will support it, and I will
yeah.
hope that quarterback grows. But for me, my goal, if I'm Joe Shane, my goal is to build this roster the way that the Chiefs did before they went and got the quarterback, the way that the 49ers did before they went and traded up for Trey Lance. Build a situation for that rookie quarterback if we eventually go that route, whether it's in 2024, 2025, where he could step in here and you could maximize the thing. Because that's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about. We all know to win a Super Bowl in the NFL, the best way to win a Super Bowl in the NFL is when the quarterback's on the rookie contract, which is an argument that a lot of people bring up as to why we need to move off of Daniel Jones this year because he's a free agent. I've said that I want them to give him a short-term commitment, and you take it on a year-by-year basis, and you keep building the team. But we all know the best opportunity to win a Super Bowl because of what quarterbacks get paid is to win a Super Bowl on the rookie contract. In an ideal scenario, why would you want to bring in a quarterback and trade all this draft capital when you have all these other holes into a situation and basically waste the first 2 years of that rookie contract? Because you're not going to compete for a Super Bowl the first 2 years of that rookie contract. You're just not, especially if you give up draft capital. Why wouldn't the goal be to have a ready condition roster for this guy to step into if you feel the need to trade up and get a quarterback where he could come in and succeed right away? If not in year one, definitely by year 2. That's my outlook on it. I want to be able to take advantage of that rookie window when that quarterback's on that rookie salary. And right now, this roster doesn't have the capabilities of doing that, especially if you're bringing a rookie quarterback right now.
Yeah. So, you remember when the Browns, I think they took Brandon Weeden and then they took Manziel. They took a bunch of quarterbacks, you know. I think, and then the Jets did too. Like they took Sam Darnold without having anything around him. And I think like that's like the history keeps on repeating itself, you know. I just like see like these quarterbacks getting drafted, getting put into these situations and then failing. But then I see these quarterbacks with much less talent going on to teams with talent and they're succeeding. So I think that you have to give him a chance with weapons around him. I just because you don't know what you have in him. That's the thing, and you can't just let him walk when he's playing like an average quarterback with nothing with them. You know?
Yeah, and listen, he very well may not be their guy long term, but that doesn't mean you can't use him as a stopgap until such time you build up the roster, and maybe
Yeah.
he grows into their guy over
Yeah,
the course of time when he gets. Who knows? But
because
that would be my approach. That's my opinion.
mm,
But I that's just me, and I get passionate about it because people always bring it up and they talk about we got to get rid of Jones. He's the problem. Jones not the problem. I'm not
yeah,
saying he's the solution, but he's certainly not the problem.
yeah. Especially this year, like if we were to move on off of Jones, right? We're not gonna have like a high. We're gonna have to trade up, and it's gonna cost a lot. It's either that or you sign someone like Jimmy G. But like, what's the point of signing someone like Jimmy G when Daniel Jones is essentially
Yeah, well,
like that?
that's the
Like, I
thing. Like
don't
that's the other
see.
argument I hear. That's the other argument I hear is why don't you sign if you're not going to draft a quarterback, why would you bring back Daniel Jones when you got to pay him say 23, 24, whatever it would be $1 million when you could pay Jacoby Brissett? $13, $14 million. You could save $10 million at the quarterback. Well, it's simple to me why he's worth that extra $10 million over a guy like Jacoby Brissett or over Marcus Mariota or over whoever. One, I personally think he has a higher ceiling than any of those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Two, even more importantly, he's well respected in the locker room and he knows the offense. You get and he has chemistry and is building chemistry with these wide receivers who their development is just as important as the quarterbacks. You want Wan'Dale Robinson to continue to develop too, right? So it's probably more beneficial to bring back a quarterback who's already played in this system, who he has some chemistry with, who he's played a year with. So that, to me, more so than anything else, is why for a year, I'd be willing to give him $10 million more than a quarterback off the street like Marcus Mariota, simply because he's developed from within this offense. And you have to think year two, he's only going to get better from within it, especially once you bring him some pieces to help him out.
Yeah. I definitely think that we're winning tomorrow. I just think that Daniel Jones with basically his back to the wall, Saquon's back is to the wall. They have to win this game. Otherwise, it's going to be very tough. We have to play Philly, we can beat Philly, but it's not going to be easy. They're a very good team. There's Minnesota, who's obviously a very good team. I think we'll beat Indianapolis, and I think week 18 we might get they might rest their starters actually. So that could be huge for us.
You talking about the Eagles?
Yeah.
I'm not banking on that, though. I've heard a lot of people say that. Maybe we do, but I'm not banking on it.
Yeah. But I just think that Taylor Heineke went from being underrated to overrated. Because I see people saying
he probably is. And again, I watched Washington last week. He didn't look good.
Yeah.
You've seen Tim Tebow make the playoffs. So yes, it's he probably is. I don't watch him every week, but he's obviously a limited quarterback. He doesn't have an arm.
Yeah.
But what's your final score tomorrow?
I think it's gonna be maybe 20-13. I don't think it's gonna be. I think if it's high scoring, it'll become a shootout. But if it's not, I think it's gonna be around 20-13. And then it's gonna be more both teams running the ball. Good defenses on both sides. Hopefully our defense can at least somewhat contain the pass. I think that's huge. If we can just somewhat contain, Terry McLaurin and their weapons, I think that we have a more than enough chance of winning this game if we can just contain the passing yards and maybe 150 to 200 yards. And I think that's possible because Taylor Heineke he's not that great of a quarterback in my opinion, personally.
He's not good. He's winning with them. I'm not trying to discount him, but he's not a good quarterback.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to be too cocky because I know this is a very tough game. We could definitely lose the game.
Yeah.
But I look at quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield. I look at quarterbacks like that, and I really think Wink is going to be able to take advantage of this guy. But it comes down to stopping the run and putting him into situations where he has to throw. That's what it comes. If he's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 all game, we're screwed.
Yeah,
you got to get him 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6. And I really do think Wink could pick on him. I think he's good enough coordinator to be able to create some turnovers against him.
Yeah, for sure. I think that their team is very similar to our team. I think you said that. I think they're obviously have a very similar record. They have an easier schedule, but I think it would be really cool if our whole division gets into the playoffs, though. I just think it would be cool. I don't know. Do you think that it could happen? Do you think there's a way that could happen, or
what? All 4 teams?
Yeah, because
I already did the math. There's a way. I'm going to show you the way. I'm going to show you the way. This is the way that all 4 teams in the NFC East make the playoffs. And obviously, it also would have to include the Detroit Lions going 4-2 or worse, which I think is very possible. But this is the one that would be much less likely in terms of what would have to happen for all 4 teams to make the playoffs. Let me share it. I think I've shared this before, but this is what would have to happen for all 4 teams in the NFC East to make the playoffs. Seattle would have to go 2-4 because if they go 9-8, they would get in over us because they beat us head to head. We would have to go 9-8. We would have to win at least 9. Washington would have to win at least 9, and Seattle would have to go 2-4 in their last 6. So they play.
Yeah, you guys were talking about this with Bad Dog, how they have to lose LA.
Well, yeah, you look at it. The Niners and the Chiefs will say are losses, And then they'd have to go 2-2 in the other 4 games between the Jets, Carolina, and the 2 Rams games, which is not. I'm not predicting that, but that's what would have to happen for all 4 teams in the NFC to make the playoffs.
Yeah. So, and then for receivers, so do you think that it's likely though? I think that the Giants may just trade for a receiver, honestly. I think just like maybe like a second round pick for a guy like DK Metcalf.
I think
What's your opinion?
you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go first round pick for DK Metcalf. I mean,
I mean,
AJ Brown was a first round pick.
yeah, but I mean, didn't AJ Brown like produce for like longer? But I think
DK is gonna be a first round pick. I would
yeah,
think.
would you
I mean, if we get him for a second round pick, great. But I think he'd be a first round pick. I mean, Chase
yeah,
Claypool was a second round pick.
oh yeah, that's true. Do you think that would be worth it?
Depends. It depends on. I mean, I would love it. He's young too, so I would love it. Depends. It depends how else they build the roster in the offseason.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if Seattle would be willing to trade him, but
Yeah.
I would love a player like that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let you go just because I got a lot of people calling in now. I got to get to as many as I can.
All right.
But enjoy the game tomorrow, man, and let's get this
All
W.
right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. And let's get Rachel. Thank you so much. How would you feel if they signed Lamar and trade for DeAndre Hopkins, then use the draft to fill the needs? Your thoughts? I mean, in that hypothetical world, sure, but it's not happening. Like it's not happening. And Lamar's going to be back with Baltimore. And I know a lot of people have talked about this because he hasn't signed a contract yet. He's going to sign a contract. He's coming back with the Baltimore. I'd be shocked. That would be unprecedented. There's never been a quarterback at his age with his accomplishments that has not been re-signed with the team who initially drafted him. It's never happened. And I know he's an unconventional quarterback, so maybe you want to argue that. But I just think it's because he has unrealistic salary demands. I would be shocked if he's not back with the Baltimore Ravens. He's going to be back with the Baltimore Ravens unless he gets hurt or something. But outside of something like that, the only other guy I could point to, and people have said it, is Watson, but that was because of the off the field stuff. It wasn't because of his play on the field. So he's going back. It's happening. As far as the Hopkins, sure, I'd be open to it, depending on the price. He's obviously not the youngest guy. I prefer a guy like Metcalf if I'm trading because he's younger. Hopkins isn't the same receiver he once was. He is negotiating, Renee. That's a good point. He has his own agent. Listen, if you get Lamar Jackson, you got to do it. He's an MVP. But I'd be shocked if he's not back with Baltimore. T, thank you very much. I haven't looked forward to a Giants game in December since. So thanks in advance for all your All-Pro play. I appreciate. I can't wait for tomorrow and December, even November. It feels like it's been a long time. Obviously, we had the big game in 2020, but we weren't good. We had 5 wins going into last week. We were just in the all-time worst division. This is the first time where we had a pretty good team where we were playing a meaningful game this late into the season in a long time. Have we found a punt returner yet? KN says. Thank you, KN. I mean, I've said that I think they should call it Pimpleton at this point. I don't want to be using starters returning punts, but I don't even know. I think we're going to be using Richie James again. I think. I don't know that for sure, but I think we're using Richie James again. He was returning punts last week. So until otherwise, I think that's who the punt returner is going to be. And hopefully holds on to the football. Don't wear sleeves. Molly. And I got to get Bobby on. I know Bobby wanted to come on.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh my God! Let me just read this real quick, Bobby.
Yeah, no problem.
Ridley would have been perfect for. I would have loved Molly. I would have loved Ridley. I think Ridley would have been, a good move by the Giants. I even said it when the deal came out. Now it's an incentivized deal. It goes up. They have to give up more if he ends up being re-signed. I think they have to end up actually giving up a first-round pick, or maybe it was a second-round pick. But I think initially it's a 4th-round pick, and then there's certain precedents that there's certain things that he has to hit, and then that draft pick could become more valuable. But yeah, I would have liked Calvin Ridley potentially. I think it could have made sense. But Bobby, what's going on, man?
Good. I haven't seen you in ages, young man.
How you been?
I'm 54 now. You believe that?
No, you don't look a day over. You don't look a day over 17.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good. So I like that young kid you had on with the glasses. What's his name?
Which kid? I had a lot of people.
He had the Met hat on. Remember?
Yeah. Empire.
Yeah, I liked his comment. He's a good kid. I like that comment.
I'm glad that you like him.
But I agree that I think we have a shot beating the Eagles twice. I do.
Bobby.
What?
Bobby. I love you, Bobby.
What?
We're not playing the Eagles.
No, when we play the Eagles, we're gonna beat them.
Bobby, one game at a time.
All right, let's go Washington. We are definitely gonna beat Washington.
The Eagles got one loss all year. I'm not. Let's worry about the game tomorrow. We got a big game.
They could lose again.
We got a big game tomorrow, Bobby.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna beat Washington.
Oh, so you're right. You already got that penciled in as a W.
Yes, I have. The score is 35-17.
Bobby, let me ask you, and yeah, hit the like, guys. Somebody said that hit the like. I appreciate it. So Bobby,
yeah,
what do you think our final record's going to be?
Well,
before you, hold on.
I said it way before.
Hold on, I don't want you to say it yet. Where did I put my pen? All right, before you tell me, right now our record, Bobby, is 7-4.
Yeah,
we got 6 games left, meaning the most we could win is 13. The least we can win is 7.
I know.
I'm gonna write down what I think Bobby's record prediction is gonna be, and then I want you to give it to me.
All right.
Let's go game by game. Washington.
We're gonna win.
Eagles.
We're gonna win.
Vikings.
Might lose.
Eagles.
We'll beat them again.
Colts.
We beat them.
So you got us at 12-5.
Yep. Really? All right.
Am I a fortune teller? How did I know you were Bobby? I know you like the back of my hand.
I know you do. I call you all the time when you're on. Do you get?
Can I ask you 12-5? Okay.
Can I ask you a question? Do you get punched in the eye?
Did I?
Yeah, your eye is all swollen.
No, I didn't get punched in the eye.
Oh, okay. And you have a new job, you said, huh?
I do.
What do you do now? I think you do cable.
I work for the government.
We're in trouble.
I'm spying
now.
on you, Bobby. I'm spying on you.
What are you doing for the government? Or you can't tell me, or you kill me.
That's exactly. I can't tell you.
Oh, it's like what's his name?
I'm like Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible.
No, what's the guy? What do you call Philly 500? He works for the government.
He works for NASA.
Yeah, remember? No, I think I want to talk about the Eagles. That's why I think we're going to beat them, because remember last year when we played them?
I do.
We intercepted the little moron for 5 interceptions that game or something like that.
Yeah, I think they had 5 turnovers. I don't remember if they were all interceptions, but
it was a lot of interceptions.
It was a lot of interceptions. Yeah.
Yes. The defense is even better this year. You wait until they get the little run around guy, and he's gonna get smashed like potatoes.
Bobby just referred to Jalen Hurts as the moron, and then he referred to him the second time around as the little run around guy.
Yeah, that's what I think he is. He's a little.
I'm gonna tell you what you need to do, Bobby. You need to get an Eagles jersey.
And
you need to get a customized Jalen Hurts jersey, but on the back, instead of saying Hurts, it needs to say the little runaround guy.
Yeah, and give it to Philly 500.
Okay, I'll give it to Philly 500. But Bobby, I need your final score prediction for the game tomorrow.
35-17.
35-17. I like it. Okay.
How's Bad Dog doing?
He's doing good. I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow. He's going to be.
Are you guys going to be on tomorrow?
Oh yeah.
Well, me and my brother want to go to 99 tomorrow because we could watch both games.
You do that, man. Have a good time.
Yeah, we like to go there sometimes, because they have DirecTV, so we could watch it there.
Watch all the games, yeah.
Yeah, but I get free on over here. I could get on my computer. I could get any game I want.
You got the illegal hookup. Don't tell me I work for the government.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's called Cody TV. It's not illegal.
But Bobby, I'm gonna let you go. I gotta get to some people. It's getting late.
Yeah, are you still with your mom, or you?
No. But
You're by yourself now.
I'll talk to you soon, though, Bobby.
I miss talking to you. You know that.
I got 5 people waiting.
You see Mr. Softy today? No, I'm not kidding.
I saw Mr. Softy today. But Bobby, I gotta go, buddy.
Okay, good luck to you tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, let's get this win. Bobby's a character. I forgot to tell the chat when Bobby popped in that to say hello, because that's what we always used to do to him. Gundy Man, he says, wait, you haven't mentioned Jahan Dotson. I did, actually. At the top of the stream, I mentioned Jahan Dotson, who I worry about, by the way. And Gibson might not play, but number 41 Williams will pound your D-line just as Robinson. And we for the last 3 years had one linebacker because Holcomb is out. Yeah, no, I worry about Dotson. I think Dotson's a really talented receiver. You guys haven't used him as much as I thought you would this year, but yeah, I worry about Dotson. He's a very good receiver. I mentioned him earlier. I also worry about Samuel in the run game, like I said. I know he's a versatile receiver. Big Moo. Rosario feeling okay? Yeah, he's probably doing something. I don't know what he's doing, but he's probably doing something. He's busy tonight, but I'm sure he'll be in the stream tomorrow. But I'm sure he's doing all right. Gundy Man, he says, and our defense is fine. I think you mean, are you talking about Washington? I don't know if you're talking about Washington or the Giants. I think you're talking about Washington. Yeah, because you just donated about Washington. Washington's got a good defense. I'm not discounting your defense. I think your strength is the defensive line. The interior defensive line is what I worry about the most, but you have a good defense. Timothy, what's going on, man? Anyone at the game tomorrow? I'll be at MetLife tomorrow with my son looking to go to lot L16, Timothy. That's where Bobby and Justin are going to have their sponsored tailgate. So that's where you want to go. Go to lot L16. They're going to have free food, and there'll be tons of Giants fans there. So L16, and look for the guy that's about 9 feet tall. That's Bobby, and they will have the tailgate. They tailgate at the back end of the lot. So go all the way to the back until you can't walk anymore, and you should see them in lot L16. But what's going on, man?
What's up, Chris?
Good to see you, buddy.
I want to talk real quick about Saquon's market. That's something you guys haven't brought up.
Okay.
If we don't franchise tag him and he does go as a free agent, something that could hurt him is this is a very strong running back class. While he's definitely the best of the running backs, a lot of teams can get some pretty good running backs for cheap.
That's a great point you brought up, because I actually saw a couple of people mention that on Twitter, how strong and how that could hurt his market. That's a great point you brought up.
There's Kareem Hunt, who's still pretty good. There's Jamal Williams, who's been going off. There's Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Tony Pollard, I'm pretty sure. There's a good class. So that could hurt him. Like, why give Saquon Barkley $16 million when you can give another really good running back,
That's a really good point you brought up.
$10 million. So that is interesting. And then with the Washington game, I am nervous about our secondary with the injuries. Like, that Dory Jackson injury, obviously all injuries hurt, but that one just hurts even more just because it was so, like, preventable. I don't know why Dable put him in the punt return situation. So it kind of hurts knowing that.
I mean, listen, I love Dable. I think so far he's done a really good job, but we all knew. I mean, I didn't know he was going to get hurt, but we all knew that was a stupid decision from the start. And I didn't understand it. I mean, as thin as we are at that position, and I understand people make the argument it's football, things happen. They point to other stars that have done it in the past. But for as thin as we were at that position, it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't. It was a mistake. Now, I always try to look at things glass half full, optimistic. I hope that's a lesson learned. He's a rookie coach. He's a young coach. So I hope that it's a lesson learned. But I agree with you. I thought that was a stupid decision from the start.
But so I'm definitely worried because Washington does have weapons. I'm very excited to see. Finally, we get to see Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Dexter Lawrence, and Leonard Williams in the same game. I've been waiting for that all year. Very excited. Hopefully, we can cause some havoc. If we force a lot of pressure on Heineke, we can force him to make mistakes. But if we can't, because of our depleted secondary, Heineke's going to find those guys, and they could burn us. So hopefully, we cause pressure. We'll love Thibodeau sack.
That's what we have to do. Because like you just said, we're limited in the secondary with those guys back. Like, if we're going to be successful defensively tomorrow, it's going to be those guys are going to be creating pressure without having to overcommit with the blitz.
Yeah, and, with Barkley, I personally don't think he's burned out. I personally think he just, with the O-line, like, even a healthy O-line isn't great, our O-line. And then, like, we lose Neal, we lose Bellinger. I just think that affected Barkley. Like, there just wasn't as many holes. Like, by the time he got the ball, I mean, there were guys already there. I think with Neal coming back, with Bellinger coming back, I think we're going to see a good game out of Barkley.
I agree with you. I've said that all week on Twitter because of all the points you just brought up. Getting those guys back, him having the short rest of 2 games before that, I think you're going to see MVP Barkley again. Before these last 2 games, Barkley was in the conversation outside of the quarterback position as being the most valuable player in football. Like, that's how well he was playing. I'm not saying he was, but he was at least in that conversation outside of the quarterback. I think we're gonna get back to that. I think he's gonna have a big game tomorrow. I really do. I think you're gonna see a very good performance from Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I agree. And then I want to touch up on the Daniel Jones market. So if we brought him back, it'd be probably around 23, 25 million.
Yeah.
While it's certainly not cheap, when you look at the quarterback market today, I mean, these quarterbacks are getting paid up to 46 million.
More than that.
So I mean, look at Kyler Murray. I think he's better than Daniel Jones. I don't think he's 21 million better than.
I don't even know.
Jones.
I honestly don't even know if he's better than Daniel Jones at this point.
Yeah, so like I think with what the market is, it's like between 46 and 50 million. I think bringing Daniel Jones in for like 23, 24, 25 is fair. And if this team was like 3-8 or 4-7 and they were competing, I would be on the train of just bringing in Mariota.
Top 5, top 6, you're taking a quarterback.
Yeah. Or not necessarily. Like if we were like right behind that area, like
9,
we go
10.
like 7 to 10.
Yeah.
And we're like in that area. I would be on board with like
if they like one, take
bringing in like a bridge quarterback like Mariota or Brissett.
Okay.
But because we're competing, we're gonna have draft picks to improve on the team. We're gonna have some money. I say just bring Jones back and continue to compete. I mean, we're winning with him.
Well, but this is also my mindset on this too. It's like fans say that you could save $10 million for if you bring in Mariota. We'll just say, right? Like, let's say Mariota costs 14 and Jones costs 24, like you said. Let's just hypothetically, we don't have no idea what the markets are going to be, but let's just say that was what it is. It's for 1 year. Like, fans act like this is for 5 years. It's for 1 year. And it's not like Joe Shane next year is going to go out there and bring in a crap ton of outside free agents anyway. This team is going to continue to build through the draft. That's what they're going to do. He's not going out there and bringing in a Kenny Golladay or an Adoree Jackson. He's not bringing in a high-profile free agent next year. He's just not going to do it. We have too many pending free agents, and it makes sense in the NFL to keep your guys from within house for all the things I've talked about in the past. The comp picks, everything like that, right? You get extra draft picks when you don't bring in outside free agents. That's how the best teams build, and that's what Joe Shane's going to do. He's not going to go out there and spend like a lunatic next year. So like you're saving $10 million for 1 year. What does it accomplish? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? He's not going to go out there and bring back Daniel Jones if you're going to go that route. He's familiar with the offense. The team respects him in the locker room, and he still potentially could grow a second year in the same offense. So that's what I think they need to do if they're not drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, it's been tough for me as a Giants fan. The first year I'm 18. The first year I got into football was the year we won the Super Bowl. But I was 7. I didn't really know the rules. I didn't know any of the players. I was so young that I didn't see most of the NFC Championship game because it was my bedtime.
Yeah.
So it's definitely just so much fun to see a team that's competing. They're winning. They're good. Hopefully they keep it up. So yeah, I definitely I think tomorrow's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be like a bend but don't break defense, like it's been all year. I think we're going to give up some drives, some yards. Washington's going to score some points, but they're not going to score
the red zone,
too many
man.
touchdowns. I think they're going to score. I'd say probably like 2016 Giants. Like,
love it.
Yeah,
love it. Josh, man, thank you so much, man. You and your mom actually both follow me on Twitter. She's always nice too, and I appreciate both you guys, all the support you guys always show, and she's a Bama fan, right?
Yeah, she's a huge Bama fan.
She's pissed because it doesn't look like they're going to get in.
She's got some hope. I tried telling her that, I think TCU losing. I think she needed like a TCU game.
That's what. Yeah, the method in which they lost.
Personally, I think Bama's better than TCU.
Of course they are.
But the problem with that is it's, there's the more deserving, and then there's the better. The case to put the better team in is a lot more opinion based. Where deserving, it's more facts. You have like the record. You have the fact that
TCU has the better resume.
Yeah, you have
Alabama's the better team.
Where like me, you might think Alabama was better. It's not like a fact that they're better.
Yeah, I mean it would be like saying that like last year the Chargers should have made the playoffs over the Raiders because they were a better team. No, they didn't qualify. So it's the same thing here for me. I think TCU is going to get in because of it.
Yeah. I mean, I personally would love to see a Georgia-Bama rematch, but we'll see Georgia beat TCU by 30.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's gonna be horrible. That's a bye. That's a first-round bye. Georgia's gonna destroy them. But I'm looking forward to next year when they expand it to 12 games. But
I mean, they should honestly put the South Carolina Gamecocks in the top 4. Just saying, back-to-back top 10 victories. Just saying.
So who's got the win tomorrow? You said the Giants, right? 2016.
Yeah, 2016 Giants.
All right, let's go, man. I'm gonna let you go just because I got to get to some more people. But I always appreciate when you call in.
Nice
Be good,
talking
guys.
to you.
Be good. He's awesome. A couple of people in the chat were saying he's my son. He's not, I promise you. Renee says Bobby proves my point. Trap game possible. Well, Bobby would make any game look like a trap game. Bobby, I think one year Bobby picked the Giants to go undefeated, actually. It might have been last year. And I think he picked the Giants to go undefeated in 2021, 2020, and it might have been 2019 as well. I think he had him 16-0 all 3 years. Maybe he had one at 15-0-1 with a tie. One of those years, I can't recall. But I'm pretty sure Bobby had them going undefeated each of the last 3 years. Darwin, man, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in. Daniel Jones sucks. We need a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. Okay. Good luck. Let's see. And you think Jalen Hurts would look the same on the New York Giants as he does on the Philadelphia Eagles? I love this. Jalen Hurts has the best offensive line in football, and he has one of the top 5 wide receiving corps in football, and he's playing in the same offense for the second straight year. You think Jalen Hurts would look the same with the New York Giants? Are you on drugs? You're going to take one of the best wide receiving corps in football, give him one of the worst, take it from having the best offensive line to having one of the worst, go from being in the same offense to being in a new offense. I promise you, he would not look like the same Jalen Hurts. I could also tell you that Daniel Jones would not look like the same Daniel Jones if he was on the Philadelphia Eagles. He would look better. Let's bring on Brandon, man. What's going on, Brandon, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man.
What's up? How you doing? Nice to see you again.
What's going on, man? Good to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, I have a main topic that I'm coming on for, but I wanted to go back to something you said earlier. I can't stand that game manager argument too. It's like you're telling me, like, yes, they're marginally better, but maybe you buy one extra win with this roster right now if you put Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes on it. Like maybe you buy one extra win.
Well, listen, those guys are guys. Those quarterbacks are guys you go all in for. Like that. I don't think there's one of those guys in this draft. I just don't.
No. I'm saying in terms of like with the game manager conversation.
Oh yeah.
If you put them on this roster, because like a great example is look at Aaron Rodgers with the team that he has. All of a sudden he's kind of like, and is he still phenomenal? Yeah, but if you take Josh Allen and put him on this roster right now, a lot of fans might disagree with me. With everything you mentioned earlier, why you hate the game manager argument, which I completely agree with. Let's say Josh Allen buys you one extra win. But the point I'm making, which I'm sure you agree, there's no quarterback you're putting on this team right now, and he's gonna carry your team to 12 wins because he's just so great. That's just not the reality. You know what I mean? Like it's just not.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes might be able to win 12 games with this roster, but they would have to play in the way that Daniel Jones is playing. They wouldn't be able to play 45 passes like the way they play with the Chiefs and the Bills. You know what I'm saying? Like they'd have to play. I'm not saying they'd be as much of a game manager, but they'd have to be more refined. They wouldn't be able to go out there and sling the ball 45 times because you don't have the line and you don't have the wide receivers. So yeah, they would have to alter the way they play for sure because of the talent around them.
And again, those what ifs, and that's what makes sports fun, right? Those what ifs are always tough, but like I think about that what if all the time, and in the context that you were saying, like you're telling me with like, because I think a stat came out. I don't quote me exactly, but I think the Giants do have number one. The Chargers are number 2. We're the most beat up team in the NFL, which I mean you could have figured that one. Number 2 is the Chargers, and I believe rankings wise, we have one of, if not bottom 3 receiving corps in the NFL, which
I think we have the worst receiving corps in the
NFL. I
NFL.
think you're right. I didn't want to say entirely, but that's why I was like,
I mean, we've got the guy from the Bills. I actually like him. What's his name off the top of my head? The guy they picked up from the Bills like 3 weeks ago.
Hodgins. I liked him a lot too. You had a video on him in the draft.
Yeah. I liked him coming out.
Yeah.
And I like him. He's played pretty. The Giants this year have, I think, I saw the stat. I want to say they have like 19 catches this year for over 20 yards, and he's got 2 of them already. I like him. I think he could be a nice little piece for the Giants, but he's not a starting receiver in the NFL.
Oh no, absolutely
and
not.
they obviously Slayton to me is like a 3. I don't even think he's a 2. He's a 3. And then outside of that, who do you got? You got nobody. Like this is they have to be the worst wide receiving core in the NFL.
Well, when I was at our trap game, which I agreed to be the Lions, unfortunately, that was my buddy's first NFL game, and I hated it for him. I was giving him a hard time. I'm like, I've never been to a game that missed 2 extra points. You must be a bad omen. The Lions game is what I'm talking about. But there was a guy behind me after someone dropped a pass. Like, this is what happens when you bring up practice squad wide receivers. I felt like saying, buddy, who else do you want them to play? We got nobody else.
That's what we got. We got practice squad wide receivers. Yeah.
That's what we got. But no, the main reason I'm coming on, and I don't I just like, I don't want to act like I just thought of this now because it's getting some heat. I thought of this take way before everyone was saying it made no sense for the Giants. And, I was just saying in my head, like, am I crazy? But like, I kind of want to give you my Odell Beckham take and why I think it is actually like, there's so many reasons why it makes sense. And it's kind of like for some of the things you listed with the, building through the draft, not bringing in key free agents, all that kind of stuff. When this first came out and everyone's saying, no, there's no shot the Giants have a chance, it's picking up some steam now. But what I was basically thinking, it makes all the world in the sense for them to sign Odell. And I'll explain why. I don't think it's the money that's going to be the issue. I think the contract's going to be feasible because of what cap we have. I do think he's probably accepted the fact he has to play for the league minimum this year. But if you think about it from Odell's perspective, I don't necessarily know if Odell wants to be that like Super Bowl catalyst, almost like Von Miller. I think that the reason they're bringing him in is because think about it from this.
Well, he said that, right? He wanted to have like a 3-year. He wants to have at least some kind of commitment.
Right, and this is why to me this is picking up steam now. But in the beginning, I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? Like, here's why I think it makes so much sense for the Giants. If he is healthy and he all he has to be is what he was last year, which he was still a top flight receiver.
Top 20 receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because to your point, the Giants aren't going to make any major signings. Joe Shane, I think, is going to do this right. And similar to what they did at the Bills, we've all concluded Daniel Jones needs weapons. It's a decent wide receiver class. It's a terrible free agent class. What are you going to wait? Are you going to wait 2 years to get Daniel Jones, a premier wide receiver? So if you're going to make one free agent splash, it really makes sense that it would be this at a cheap price. Like if he excels, which I think he will, I think he'll be driven in New York. I think he wants to come back here. I think he wants to win a championship, but I think that family like feel good vibe is important to him. This could be Joe Shane's one major signing, and he could look like a genius if he gets it right. Because then he doesn't have, that's just my take. He doesn't
listen, a lot of what you said makes sense to bring Odell back under certain circumstances. The way I could see it happening, it has to be like a 3-year deal, but to me, it would have to be heavily incentivized.
And I think it will ultimately.
It has to be bonuses. Yeah. It can't be $36 million over 3 years and you're guaranteed that. It has to be heavily incentivized. I think that's the only way and they'd have to get creative with the contract that the New York Giants would do something like that.
No, I agree with you.
It's possible. I'm not. Listen, at the end of the day, the Giants have shown interest. They brought him in for a visit. Joe Shane has told the public that he has interest. I just am of the mindset that I think Dallas is going to be willing to give him more. Now, if he's willing to come here for less, it's possible.
I'm going to be honest with you, and this could be the fan in me. As I think about it more, and again, like you look at the Stephon Diggs, you kind of like look to people's history, and I know Brandon Beane's obviously the GM to see what they might do with teams. They do it the right way too, but usually teams, even that do it the right way, look at the Cowboys with Amari Cooper, they make one splash. I feel like this will be Joe Shane's marquee splash, if you will, and the reason being, I think he is going to do it the right way, like you said, and I think he's going to allocate that cap for play, all that stuff, and that's not to say the splash might not be somebody else, like a top O-line free agent. I just think, I don't know, me personally, it's like if classes aren't good, which I'm sure he's thinking about that, free agent classes, what's the harm in bringing in Odell? If the contract makes sense, the health is good. Those are obviously very important. And then even in the draft, it doesn't really hamstring you if you want to
that's
get
the key.
wide receiver.
That's the key, what you just said. The contract has to make sense.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. If the contract makes sense, I completely think he could be here. I just think he's going to have to take less to be here. I don't think we're going to be his best offer.
That's fair enough. I mean, yeah, like you said, they can get creative and whatnot. I don't know for sure. I mean, all these reports and whatnot. Dable's press conference, I watched it. It's kind of sneaky. It almost kind of makes me think he's not coming here. But I'm kind of 50-50. I think there's a better chance than people realize. Because I think if the two things we outlined make sense, the contract being a big one and really what's going on in Odell's head, I think he kind of wants to finish his career here. And I mean, like, what are you going to do? If he said he wants a multi-year deal, you're not going to go to Dallas for 1 year. By the time he's healthy.
Hey, man, you're talking me into being more possible, and a lot of your reasons make sense. And
I really think it is, Tana. I think I actually
the thing that makes it more possible for me, again, it's got to be an incentivized deal. But the free agent class is so bad at the wide receiver position this year, and Joe Shane may be able to talk himself into, if I could get him on an incentivized deal and it's cost effective, and I could draft another wide receiver, this could make sense. But we'll see.
That's what I'm thinking. And like, if you're Joe Shane, if you look at the whole Josh Allen, they get Stephon Diggs. How long, if this is going to be your guy, which people may disagree. I think Daniel Jones is going to end up being a Giant for his career. I have faith in the kid. I think I'm
rooting for him. I know it's like the popular thing, especially with like younger Giant fans. It's like the popular thing now to just mock him and meme him and make fun of him. And it's almost like people are rooting against the guy. I'm rooting for him. I want him to be the guy. It reminds me so much of Eli early in his career that and I'm not saying he reminds me of Eli. I still think Eli's a better quarterback, but the adversity he's had to take on, it's very similar to Eli. And it's almost like a Benjamin. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Benjamin Button where he ages in reverse.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like Daniel Jones got what Eli Manning got at the end of his career at the beginning. And I'm hoping, if what you say is accurate, he gets what Eli Manning got at the beginning, at the end.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. And that's like, if you look at the factors, it's kind of like the opposite of the Saquon Barkley situation. If you look at all the stuff, if I'm Joe Shane, and yeah, there's pending circumstances with the money. I don't want to breeze over that because, yes, that's a big one. The health. You got to ask yourself, yeah, I could draft a wide receiver, but the good teams have a plethora of wide receivers. So you have to ask yourself, if you're him, am I going to wait 2 years to get this kid a receiver? At that point, then he's probably not even going to be your quarterback. It's like, you got to – I think the time, like, yeah, the Giants aren't – the time isn't now to win a Super Bowl. But, I mean, the time is now to see what's going on, if we're being honest. And I think Odell could be, like, that catalyst, if you will. So I feel like I'm talking myself into it. That's what my friends say. But to try to sound unbiased, I think a lot more steps
under the right circumstances, it could happen. But it's got to be the right circumstances. If Dallas is willing to give him more, he might go to Dallas. But we'll see.
I know you probably feel the same way, but I got to be honest. If he goes, this is going to sound bad, but I told my friend. I mean, I'm a diehard Giants fan. I said, if he goes to Dallas, I don't wish him the best. I'm going to be honest. I do not wish it.
Listen. I'm not going to hope the guy gets hurt, but
no, yeah, I know, obviously
but
not.
Yeah, if he's a Cowboy, I hope he sucks. He's a Cowboy. I don't care who goes to the Cowboys. I hope he sucks. So yeah, I'm going to hope he sucks.
Yeah, we've been talking about that so much. Like, we've said some things I won't even repeat because you know how it is when you're a diehard fan. But like, I just kept telling, like, dude, if he goes to the Cowboys, I'm going to be so upset. So what are you going to do? But yeah, no, I think it makes more sense to people realize. And you know, I also will say this: my buddy and I have a bet. I'm an avid sports bettor. We made kind of like a low key bet. I said to him, I think this is how this stuff works. It's going to end up being a sleeper team that signs him, not a team that's in like the top 3. I think it's going to be the Chiefs, just putting that out there. We have a small $10 bet. I could see them sneaking in and getting Odell. That's just kind of like my hot take.
It's possible.
Yeah, my friend and I have that
bet.
It's
possible, especially if you think about next year, because they have a lot of free agents. They have Juju's a free agent. They have Hardman, I think, is a free agent. A lot of their receivers are free agents next year, so it's possible.
And I'll leave you because I know you've been asking everyone's score. This one I'm not confident in. I'm just throwing it out there just because. My really hot take, tomorrow's the first game the Giants put up more than 30 points. How do you like that one?
That is a really hot take. And
I know it is.
Now, what I will always say is the Giants really have put up 30 points against, I think it was the Bears. Barkley fell down on the one. Otherwise, that would have been 30. But technically, they haven't yet. So hopefully this week they do. It's going to be tough, though. Washington's got a good defense.
No, it is. I think, like, to your point, it's kind of like, I think this is kind of like an omen breaking in our favor. Jones and Barkley, they've kind of owned this team. It's not a bad team, but someone on your show said it earlier. I do think the defense steps up, and I think, these wide receivers don't look like they have in the past. I think we put up some big points tomorrow. I know that sounds stupid, but, like, I just have, like, a feeling. I think this is our first, like, marquee game where it's like, okay, we're starting to finally build something. I think it's going to be tomorrow. So
my mistake, by the way, it was the Ravens game. They said that in the chat. It was the Ravens game where they should have had the 30. But yeah, I have a good feeling about tomorrow. I don't have a 30-point feeling, but I have a good feeling. I think we're going to win.
I told you, it's my hot take. I won't take it to my grave, but
listen, I like it. I like the hot take.
And I might be going to we're looking for one more to go to because I just feel so bad for my buddy that his first game was the Lions. I might go to the Colts game too, so maybe I'll see you there. Maybe I'll.
I'm definitely, if they win tomorrow, I'm definitely going to another game. I just don't know if it'll be the Eagles game or the Colts game. But I'm definitely going to make it back, especially if they win tomorrow. If those games mean something down the stretch, I'm going to want to go to one of them.
Yeah, L-Lot's where it's at, by the way. I always park there too, so good stuff.
All right, man. I always like talking to you, man. You always bring some good, positive energy. So thanks for calling in.
Yeah, have a good one. Have a good night. Take care.
All right, be good, buddy. Brandon's awesome. Let me get to the chat real quick. Renee says, Giants make the playoffs. They build around DJ. Giants going to miss the playoffs. They blow it up. I don't know if that's entirely true. I'm not. I don't think they're going to build around DJ in either circumstance, honestly. Not yet, anyway. Just because they bring him back doesn't mean they're building around him. It means they're continuing to fix the roster while he remains on it, and they continue to evaluate him well as the roster improves before they come to a conclusion whether or not they want him to be the long-term solution. So I don't think they make the playoffs doesn't mean they're building around DJ. It means that they're bringing him back, but I don't think they're building around him in either circumstance. And if they miss the playoffs, I don't necessarily think that means for sure that he's not going to be back. It all comes down to how they evaluate the quarterbacks and what the cost would be to move up and get one of them at the end of the year, and how they have to evaluate the rest of their roster. But I'm definitely of the mindset I think Jones is going to be back, but I'm not of the mindset that they're building the team around him quite yet. I think he needs to continue to prove his worth year to year as they continue to improve the team. And Playboy Phil, I'm going to bring Sean on real quick, but I'm going to read this. Playboy Phil says, I'm rooting for DJ the rest of this season and next season, but I won't lie, I'm all down for giving the sun and the moon for Caleb. Dude, Caleb Williams is another planet. Like, you'd be lying to yourself. But the problem with Caleb Williams, you're not going to be able to trade up for that guy. He's going to go first. Like, you could just see it. You'd have to be Helen Keller not to see the potential in a guy like Caleb Williams. And he's going to be the number one pick next year outside of getting hurt. He's going to be a number one pick in 2023 and 2024, I should say. And if you need a quarterback, which 95% of the time, if you're picking first overall, you do, and there's a quarterback prospect that's that good, you're not trading out of it. So that's why, we could talk about Caleb Williams, and sure, I'd love him, but I don't think we're going to get him. I don't think you're not going to be able to get him. As far as Marvin Harrison goes, I think it's going to be the same thing. I don't think we're going to be bad enough to get that guy. Listen, I've been watching a lot more college football this year, and Marvin Harrison, to me, is one of the best wide receiving prospects I've ever seen at the collegiate level. He's a better prospect than his dad was. I'm not saying he's going to be a better pro, but he's got everything you want in a wide receiver. He's tall. I think he's like 6'4", incredible route runner. His hands are ridiculous. His awareness of where he is on the field, some of the toe taps I've seen the guy make when I've watched Ohio State games are incredible. He's got the pedigree. He's going to be a top 3 or 4 pick in next year's draft. He's incredible. I think he's so good that his first year in the league, he's going to be a top 10 receiver in the league. He's that good. I don't think we're going to be able to get either one of them. But what's going on, Sean, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Sean, you there? Maybe Sean fell asleep. You just got to unmute yourself. The mic's muted. I'm going to give him another 20 seconds while I read Renee's donation. Renee, man, thank you very much, man. What New York fans think about Vegas making Washington a road favorite tomorrow? I actually love it. And I'm going to tell you why, Renee. And thank you for the incredible generosity during the stream, by the way. I know you're a Washington fan. We've been a home underdog in pretty much every game we've won. We were an underdog against the Titans were on the road, but we were an underdog. We were an underdog against the Ravens. We were an underdog against the Packers. We were an underdog. I think when it kicked off, actually, we were an underdog against the Panthers early in the year. I don't think we opened as an underdog, but when it kicked off, we were an underdog. So I actually like being an underdog. The game early on in the year that we lost was actually the game against the Cowboys when they didn't have Dak. We were favored. when we were at home and we lost that game. So it doesn't bother me at all. If anything, I like that it may incentivize the team to continue to have that mindset of it's us against the world. So I like when we're underdogs. Personally, that's just my preference. I got Met. Oh God, we got Mets on the. You know we always got to close out the show with Mets. So I'm gonna let Sean go. We got Mets in the background. He's always the highlight at the end.
Hey, Chris.
How you been?
Okay, but I mean, I did get my first raid on the Thanksgiving Day call. It was
You got a raid? Who gave you a raid?
The Grassi posse.
Tom Grassi.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Grassi knows you.
A bit.
So you've been on his channel before?
A couple of times, but I never talked to the guy. But the posse gave me a Thanksgiving Day raid.
That's awesome. So your stream must have blown up, man.
Yeah, but it was around halftime. That was the lone catch. That said,
how was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
Pretty good. I mean, watched basically all 3 games. Between the 3, I think New England, Minnesota was the best.
Yeah, our game wasn't.
Yeah. Then again, 2 words screw us over. Ref ball. Past 2 weeks, you can blame injuries, you can blame incompetent coaching schemes, you can blame the turf, but the common denominator has been the refs giving us BS penalties.
I'm not going to lie to you, and I never blame the refs. Never. You will never see me in a post-game video blame the referees on a game because I hate it when opposing fans do that to us. Like, when we win, I don't want to hear the opposing fans blame the referees, but while I'm watching the game, I'm going to say when I think the referees are wrong. And I'm not just with the Giants. The officiating in the NFL this year has been abysmal.
About as the scab refs in 2012.
But in that game with the Giants, I mean, my God. Like, there must have been 5 or 6 ridiculous calls. It was horrible, the officiating.
2, in my opinion, killed the Giants' momentum. The opening drive touchdown that got called back, and then that BS phantom holding call.
What did you think of the 4th and 1 decision?
Didn't mind it, but it was just the way the route was done was sloppy.
Yeah.
But again, what killed momentum for the G-Men was that BS phantom holding call.
It was. What did you think of DeGrom? I know, obviously, you're Mets, so DeGrom, what did you think?
I don't mind it. The only thing is it comes at the expense of a trade-off. Now we've got a hold of Phil, and Jacob's going somewhere is going to a team that has been really relevant since 2011 when they blew the World Series not once, but twice.
Let me just read Darwin real quick. I agree with you, by the way. Darwin says, sorry, Chris, I just want the New York Giants to do well again. Love the tradition of the blue and red. Stand up. Let's beat these Washington. Listen, Darwin, at the end of the day.
You know what's bigger BS for me, Chris? I was planning to do my own stream of the Commander Giant game tomorrow. Just a few hours ago, I found out that Fox's national coverage pulled a fast one on me, and I'm getting Eagles Titans tomorrow.
So you could come into my stream and listen. But or you could stream the game and just pretend you could just act like you're watching what's going on, but you're not. Maybe you could fool a couple of people. Maybe you could do that. But
I'm hoping to get next week's game with the Giants and Eagles.
But Darwin, listen, man, you never apologize. Listen, I know sometimes I may come off like I'm upset, and I guess at times I'm just passionate. That's just the way I am. I'm New York. I'm loud. I'm in your face when I talk about something I'm passionate about. And I love the New York Giants to death. So when it's a topic about the Giants I'm passionate about, I may get a little boisterous. I may get a little energetic. That's just me. That doesn't mean I'm mad at you. So I'm not mad at you. You got your opinion on the team. I got mine. I'm going to defend mine. You're going to defend yours. It is what it is. At the end of the day, as long as we're respectful to one another, that's what I want it to be, So no need to apologize. But, Mets, go ahead, man.
As for pick the score, let's hope this comes true. I mean, because let's face it, if we give up more than 20, this team is gypped, or at least over 22 or so. Anything below 23, we've got in the bag. Anything over that, we're effed. I'm going to say, on the opposition side, I'm going to say New York 27, Washington 21.
That was my score. You said 26 or 27?
27.
Oh, it wasn't my score. I thought you said 26. I have a 26-21 Giants.
And again, this team hasn't scored more than 30 in over 2 years.
So why don't you pick 30? It's got to happen eventually. We're due.
I know. But I'm just saying, considering what coaches we've had, a dimwit like Ben McAdoo, a wooden plank like Pat Shermer, and an all bark, no bite hack like Joe Judge.
Backfield news. I don't know if you're talking about me or Metz, but I appreciate it if you're talking about me, and I'm sure Metz appreciates it if you're talking about him. He says, I like this dude. He's a true fan. He's probably talking about you, and you are a true fan.
Even though I'm living so far down south that me getting Giant games down here is few and far between.
So, you got the Giants. You think we're making the playoffs?
Hopefully. Can't say the same for the Knicks because I just want Thibodeau and Rose gone and the Tin Man mentality sent to the damn junkyard. You saw how bad they played today against Dallas.
Mets, I'm going to let you go because I'm getting tired. And I got to get up to call the game tomorrow, and hopefully you enjoy the Titans game. But we'll talk soon.
Go Titans.
We'll get this. We'll get this team back where we need to be, man. But thank you so much, man, for all the support you always show.
You too.
Mets, be good, buddy. Joe says we better win. I'll talk to you guys for a couple more minutes, and we're going to close it out. Did the Knicks lose again tonight? I know that they. Actually, no. Did they play? Oh, they played earlier today, rather. Yeah, they played the Mavericks. They lost. Yep. So now they're 3 games under. They've been up and down. They've been too hit and miss, and it's unfortunate. I think they're going to struggle this year, but we'll see. Rudy, man, my man. Good to see Rudy, man. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I'm looking forward. I know you're pumped up about the game tomorrow. I know you are. Stand up. Good to see you, Asia Goat in the chat. He's excited about his Cowboys, I'm sure. Who does Dallas play this week? They play let me take a quick look. Dallas plays the Colts. So you won. Jeff Saturday doesn't know what a timeout is, so you won. I think Dallas has a shot at the division still because they play the Eagles, and I think the Eagles might lose this week to the Titans. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think Dallas, and I'm not just saying this, Code, I think Dallas is the best team in the division. I think they're better than the Eagles. But I don't know if they're going to be able to catch them because the Eagles' schedule is very, very easy. Easy Lopez is pregnant. I thought you were a guy. Let me look closer. I always thought Easy Lopez was a guy, so either Easy Lopez is a female or something funky going down there. Airborne, what's going on, man? Chris, how's life as a guy? It's tiring. I get home, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I go to bed and I make YouTube videos every now and again. But I appreciate everybody for being here. Tana, do you? But I'm very excited for the offseason. I'm very excited for the offseason. Very excited. I'm going to be very active on the channel this offseason. Very active. I'm very much looking forward to it. And I have some ideas to expand the channel to give you guys a lot more offseason content this year, but we'll talk about that in the offseason. We still got a lot of games to go. Good thing you could wake up to the Giants underperform. We're 7-4, dude. What are you talking about? Let's see. CU says, if Jeff Saturday was our head coach from week 1, we'd be undefeated. I reckon all 4 teams in the division make the playoffs this year. Well, the only way that happens, the only realistic way that's going to happen is Seattle has to go 2-4. Because if they do that, they'll only have 8 wins, and then every team could get in with 9. Because Seattle has the tiebreaker over the Giants. And they'd have to go 2-4 against the Rams twice. They play Carolina. They play the Jets. They play the Niners, and they play the Chiefs. So it's possible they'd have to lose to the Jets, Niners, and Chiefs, and then get upset against one of those Rams games or the Carolina game. What's up? H1000 says O-line in the 2023 draft. I think we're going to take a lineman. I just don't think it's going to be in the first round. I think we'll take a center or guard maybe in the second or the third round. I do think we'll take a lineman, but I don't think it'll be in the first round. I think the first round is either going to be a receiver, a linebacker, or a corner. I think it's going to be one of those 3. If I had to guess right now. Jeff Saturday's better than Joe Judge. You might be right about that. They were about equally qualified. So, Tim Tana, do you think we could get JSN? You're talking about the wide receiver from Ohio State, of course. I don't know where Noah Sewell's being mocked. As far as JSN goes, yeah, he's being mocked right around where I'm probably guessing we're going to be picking right now. But obviously he's had some injuries this year, which is why he's being mocked that late. Otherwise, he'd be a top 10 pick for sure. But yeah, he's definitely a possibility for the Giants. He's definitely one of the 3 or 4 wide receivers I got my eye on as a potential first-round pick. JD says, Tana, Giant stream, but what is your official statement on the Jacob deGrom? What's good to see you, JD, man. Hope you're doing well. Got to get you on one of these Giant streams again soon. And I want to talk to you about an idea I was kind of just hinting at about the channel during the offseason. Because I think you're awesome. But as far as the Jacob deGrom, yeah, listen, I love Jacob deGrom, okay? He's one of my favorite athletes of all time. He's like not Eli level for me because Eli was a lifetime Giant. He was a guy that won me 2 Super Bowls, but close. Like, I love Jacob deGrom. Homegrown Met, does it the right way. Great guy. Love him. But the Mets made the right decision. The Mets thought with their brains, they didn't think with their hearts. And as a fan, I think with my heart. I don't think with my brain as much as I should. Jacob deGrom has not even played a full season's worth of games over his last 3 years combined. Jacob deGrom is, what is he, like 34, 35? He's had an injury history. You could use that money better elsewhere. As much as I hate to say that, it's a very risky contract for the Texas Rangers. And I know there's no salary cap in baseball, but I think the Mets are still going to spend. I have confidence that they will. It hurts, though, because as a Mets fan, I've only seen one lifetime Met. Like I said earlier in the stream, well, there's only been one great lifetime Met, and that's David Wright. Even Tom Seaver was traded, who's obviously the greatest Met of all time. He was traded to the Reds. Piazza obviously wasn't an original Met. Strawberry, obviously because of the drugs, finished his career with the Yankees. Doc Gooden, same thing. So it sucks. You envision Jacob deGrom being a lifetime Met, right? You thought he was going to be the second guy, but at the end of the day, I think it was the right decision. As much as I hate to say that, I think it was the right decision. Kalen, what's going on, man? He says, Hojo, did Hojo finish his career as Met? Let me see. I don't think he did. He was kind of a little bit before my time, but I don't think he did. Let me see. No, he didn't. Howard Johnson played with the Rockies in 94 and the Cubs in 95. And he actually started with the Tigers. Yeah, in the early 80s, he started with the Tigers. So, no, that he was not a lifetime Met. The only great lifetime Met is David Wright, start to finish. What's up, Jake? He says, proud of my Aussies' effort in the World Cup this morning. Did they win? I don't think they did. They played, they were playing a really good team. I didn't watch the game, obviously, after U.S., but I don't think they won. At least I would have been shocked if they did. I forgot who they were playing, but Argentina they were playing. You ever see the Don LaGreca Ed Kranepool rant? No, I haven't. He's a lifetime Met. He had every Mets career statistical accomplishment because the Mets never had any long-term Mets forever, right? Whenever we go to Shea Stadium, he'd be at the top of the leaderboard, even though he was basically, like a platoon player his entire career, at least during the second half. Hi, Tana. Thoughts on the U.S. Soccer and World Cup? I actually like the World Cup. I watched it this year even more so because the U.S. was in it. I didn't get too much into it 4 years ago, but I've always liked the World Cup. I actually like soccer. It's just there's so many other sports, right? I grew up watching basketball, baseball, football, hockey. So it's like it's fifth on the totem pole for me. So it's even tennis I like watching more so than soccer, or at least I grew up watching it. So it's like that's why I never really got into it. But I like soccer. I watch the World Cup. I don't really get into the English Premier League or anything like that. But Gundy Man, he says, as a Washington fan, we're pumped. Too glad we'll be able to bust your balloon. Also, give me a Taylor ham, cheese, and egg, salt and pepper and ketchup. Hope you have a good call. I appreciate it, Gundy Man. Thank you very much. And of course, listen, New York makes the best breakfast sandwiches. But good luck. Not good luck tomorrow. Good luck the rest of the season when you don't play us the 2 weeks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everybody for being here, man. I had so much fun, and I'm just so excited for the game tomorrow, and I hope you guys are too. I couldn't wait to come on and talk about it tonight, and I thought he was a great guest. I got to get him back on. Knows his stuff. Really nice guy. If you haven't watched the first half of the show, go back and watch it because I think you would enjoy it. I got to get the Grumpy fan back on. He's an awesome guy. Met him in person a few times, and got to get him back on. He's a really knowledgeable Giant fan. But guys, we'll talk soon. I'll be live streaming the game tomorrow. And I can't wait to see how Daniel Jones responds, how Saquon Barkley responds, how Brian Dable responds, and see how everybody does. But guys, be good. Let's go Giants. See you guys tomorrow.